You're live, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we're going to reconvene into open session. Closed session announcement and open session from our city attorney, Quinn Barrow.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier this evening, the City Council went into closed session to discuss one of the two items identified on the 5 o'clock agenda. The City Council gave direction to the City Attorney.
Perfect. That meeting is now adjourned. We're going to roll, folks, right into our regular meeting. City Council regular meeting for today, Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. I will call the meeting to order, and we're going to ask Sloane Ross to come up and lead us in the pledge of the flag. So, Sloane, come up here with me. All right, you're in control. This microphone is yours. We're going to follow whatever you tell us to do. We're going to follow you.
Please stand. Oh.
There you go.
Want to stand up?
Oh,
There
we're
you
gonna
go.
stand
They
up.
can see
Yeah,
you
that's fun. Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Oh, nice try. Stay up there. So, Sloane, who do you want to put someone out? Tell us who's here with you tonight, your family. Who's here with you?
That's my family?
One of us.
My grandpa, my dad, my grandma, and me.
Good job. Tell everybody, where do you go to school?
Pacific.
Do you have a favorite teacher there?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a hard question. Probably Miss Jordan.
Bruce Stewart gets a shout out for that one. Yeah. So here you go. On behalf of the entire city council, we're going to give you this as thank you, Sloane Ross, leading the city council and the community in the Pledge of Allegiance dated today, 21st day of November, 2023. That's for you. And Mayor Pro Tem Frank is going to give you one of our very highly valued city pens as your collection item.
Yes, thank you.
And now you're going to come to the center over here and get a picture of all of council. We're going to aim right towards the lady coming down with the camera.
And your parents could join us?
And your parents? Yeah. Where's Dad? Dad, come on down to the center. Is that better? Look right there, little Amy towards you. Anywhere you want.
Okay,
Come
I'll
over
come
here.
over here.
Great.
There we go.
Now look
Right,
for everybody
ready?
to
1, 2, 3. Gotcha.
do. Anybody else? Oh, Grandma's over there. We good?
Oh, sorry.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Congratulations. Good to see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I give you a fist bump?
Yeah,
Yeah.
password.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Breaks nothing.
Yeah, they
If you didn't recognize Sloane, she's very famous now. She's on the cover of the Easy Reader magazine because she did the light switch for the lights of the pier. That was her.
Oh,
In a big puffy pink jacket she was wearing, but that was her.
all right.
She invited a friend to join her.
I think she did.
Very nice.
That's a highlight, folks.
I like
Pretty
it.
much it.
You done?
All right, roll call, please, Lisa.
Councilmember Howorth.
Here.
Councilmember Lesser.
Here.
Councilmember Napolitano.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
Here.
Mayor Montgomery.
I am here as well. No ceremonial calendar tonight, which great news. Item E, approval of agenda and waiver of full reading of ordinances. We're going to go voice votes tonight, folks, instead of our agenda, because Councilmember Napolitano is zooming in. So we're doing voice votes on these things, all right? So in a voice vote, need a first on item E.
I move approval.
There's an approval from Councilor Howorth,
And I second it.
and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Napolitano.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth.
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you, everybody. Item F, City Council and Community Organization announcements of upcoming events. 1 minute per person. I'll read something first, folks, because it has become necessary I do this. It's come to our attention that people have been disrupting council meetings in other cities with anti-Semitic or racially based comments through Zoom. Such comments are disruptive, interfere with the people's business, and are not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. I'm instructing the City Clerk's office to mute any speakers who attempt to disrupt the meeting with anti-Semitic or other derogatory comments based upon race, gender, or other protected categories. So I'll add to that. If you do something live here in the chambers here, I'll have an escort you out. So you've been warned. Just follow the rules, common courtesy, you'll get along fine. With that, city community organizations, come down and speak 1 minute per person. Please.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Josh Murray. I'm here on behalf of Manhattan Beach Library. Adults are invited to an author talk with Heather Hatch, where she will discuss her new book, The Trouble with Drowning, on Saturday, December 9th at 1 p.m. Come to the library for a program featuring author, screenwriter, and librettist Heather Hatch speaking about, reading from, and signing copies of her new book, The Trouble with Drowning. Again, this program will be at Manhattan Beach Library. It'll be free, and it'll be on Saturday, December 9th at 1 p.m. I'd also like to remind the community that Manhattan Beach Library will be closed on Thursday, November 23rd, and Friday, November 24th for the Thanksgiving holiday. And we will be reopening at 10 a.m. on Saturday, November 25th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Josh. Keep the library going for us, man. We appreciate that. Who else here has got community announcements? Anyone? Thanksgiving time? No one's got anything to say? All right. Let's go to Zoom, Martha. No one has a hand raised for Zoom. Colleagues, any community announcements? Nothing community-wise? Mayor Pro Tem, you got one?
I would. I don't want to steal the thunder of our Maricosta students here, but the Maricosta football team is in the CIF finals.
You
Division
just stole the news right there.
I know. I'm sorry, but having had a son who was on the team that won it the last time, very proud of him. And so it's going to be Saturday at Costa at home at 7 o'clock. So this Saturday. So sorry for that.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get a chance next. Martha, how about the announcements that I have to come up here, community announcements? It's the most fun part of the job, Joe, when you're mayor. You can do all the fun stuff. All the announcements that you want, you can do it when you're mayor. She's loading up announcements, folks. What do you got first up here today? Let's see what pops up on the screen.
You know.
How about the 31st annual Manhattan Beach Hermosa Beach Toy Drive? That's right. December 16th, 2023 here at Jocelyn Center. It says 10 a.m. I can tell you, folks, usually not ready to take people in until 11 o'clock. But these are the places you can drop off toys at Jocelyn Center, our police department, our fire department, City Hall, LA County Fire Station, Hermosa Beach Police Department as well. We'll start taking toys after Thanksgiving. You can drop them off and then meet us here for a wrapping party. We have wrapping paper and tape and scissors. All we need is your capable volunteer hands to help make that happen. And there's no size limit, how many friends you want to bring. And the restaurants both in Hermosa and Manhattan are courteous enough, or I would say oblige us all by donating food to feed the wrappers. And then we also have T-shirts that you can probably wear proudly for 1 year if you show up and wrap. So that is December 16th here in Manhattan Beach, Jocelyn Center. 10:30 is a good time. 10 o'clock is usually too early. All right, what's the next one here, Martha? Coffee with the Mayor. That was fun today. So next one, November 28th at Duncan. We don't say donuts anymore, right, Amy? Just
No,
Duncan.
just Duncan.
Right there at the corner of MBB and Sepulveda, or PCH as I call it. And it's 3:30 to 4:30 at Duncan. Make yourself at home. Steve's still with us? All right. Your next one?
I'm awake.
All right. That's right. Those who have babies born in the city from January 1st, 2020 to now, you get your own baby passport. And look at that picture. Who is that picture of? That's not Steve, so who is that picture of? We don't know. A typical example of what the passports look like. Contact Lisa Tamara or Martha Alvarez. They'll take care of that for you. And yes, we're going to announce it and show it at city council meetings. Next one you have up? That's it? I have one, and I'll close off with this one. I went to a Pacific school before Thanksgiving break, and the fifth grade class, they had open questions. One of them asked me, how old do you have to be to run for city council in Manhattan Beach? 18 years of age, right, Lisa? 18 years old. She wasn't ready yet, but she asked a question. Second question would stop me for a second. Is there a limit how many times you can run for city council? No. We have one person in the city who's run 4 times, Mark. He's run 4 times successfully. There's no limit. You can run 5, 10, 15 times. So no limit. So think about that, because this time next year, we'll have 3 spots for council up. Councilor Napolitano behind me, the veteran here, and I will be stepping down. Term limits in December of next year, but the election is November of next year. Along with the presidents and the Congress and the county and the state and everybody else, you have 3 spots open, except Joe Franklin's going to take one of those spots, hopefully, to serve with Councilmembers Howorth and Lesser, who will be the experienced veterans by then. So we're looking for 2 good people to step up. Any questions you have, email us, call us, whatever. We'll fill you in about what it takes. And those of you that have family, been elected, it's a huge, time constraints time requirements are tremendous. Don't anybody tell you only meet 2 times a month. That's the only time you need to do. That's a false narrative, and I fell for it once. So you meet twice in public, but you also have committee meetings and things to do outside. There's no such thing, and you actually end up paying for your time on council. It's not the salary, folks, because there isn't a salary. But think about that. Anyone you know that think could be a good council member, he or she, tell them think about it, because we need good people to step up here. And this town is full of great men and women that would love to be on this council. So with that said, you have a comment for me here?
It was passed to me, I believe, some general city.
Oh, yes. Those of you that wondered why the LAPD helicopters were over our head last week, and Chief Johnson probably loves this part of it the best. Hermosa had a, what was it? I think it was burglary. And of course, they run to the Manhattan. So our units jump in there. The person, they crashed his car on the east side of Manhattan Beach. Of course, wide streets, what do? They crash. And the person jumped the fence and hid. And with our neighbors' help, everybody else got together and he gave himself up to us. So that's the good news. But people freak out when helicopters over your head. They all text Joe, I, Amy, and David, and Steve and go, what's that helicopter doing here? They don't fly over our heads for fun, folks. They're over here for a reason. But thank God, this one more example. We all work together with our neighbors, catch a bad guy, and go on from there. Remind everybody, City Hall is closed Thursday and Friday this week. If you get questions, when does City Hall close? Thursday and Friday this week. So please don't come here. Thanksgiving weekend, it's Thursday and Friday. We close things down. Public safety, of course, 24/7. Anything you see something, say something. Call our police. They don't shut down, even on holidays. They're working there. And then trash services are delayed a day. If your pickup day is Tuesday, it'll be Wednesday. It's Friday, it'll be Saturday, just so you'll know. I think we're caught up on all the important announcements, and let's go into...
I have one more.
I'm sorry.
I have one more. You covered pretty much everything, just one other event I'd like to remind the public to and invite them to the unveiling of Fire Station 2. We're super excited that we're done with this facility and it looks beautiful. So we're inviting the public to come tour the facility, listen to some speeches about how it was created and built on Wednesday, November 29th at 3 p.m. At Fire Station 2. There's plenty of details on our website about that under the city's calendar, but you'll get to tour the facility, have some refreshments and snacks, and get to ask some questions about it too. So
those people not familiar with Fire Station 2, how about the address where it's at?
It is at, 1400 Manhattan Beach Boulevard.
Right across the Pollywood Park. Can't miss it. Big new shiny building.
Gonna be fun.
That's great. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. We're serving tea and cookies. Perfect.
Phew, I'm there.
All right. We're going to public comments, folks, 3 minutes per person on items not on the agenda. If they are on the agenda, you can't speak on it twice. So if items on the agenda, you want to speak now, you won't be able to speak on it again. 3 minutes. Yes, come on up. How are you?
Hi. Hi, I'm Martha Koo on behalf of the Beach Cities Health District. So Mayor Montgomery, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, and Manhattan Beach Council people, I just wanted to say that I've been a resident here for 30 years. I'm on the board of directors of the Beach Cities Health District, and I am a physician. And the Beach Cities Health District so appreciates our ongoing partnership to ensure the safety and health of the community. And I'm here to say we're very grateful that tonight you're considering allocating your opiate settlement funding to the city, the Beach City Health, the Health District. And I just wanted to share a little bit about the information that we do, right, to prevent drug use in the community. So we have a federal drug-free community grant that we use for really significant, effective drug use counseling, prevention, and harm reduction. In response to the CDC crisis of fentanyl warning, we established a very rapid program with film screening and a panel with the school district. We distribute Narcan, which is a nasal spray really to prevent death and opiate overdose, and we also provide education about storage and use. And we celebrated our 1-year anniversary of the Alcove Center, which is a freestanding mental health facility for those aged 12 to 25, and that includes substance use prevention and counseling. And a little silly rivalry, maybe, that the reminder, Hermosa Beach Council did allocate their funds to the Beach Cities Health District, so we are very much hoping that you will also decide to really allocate those funds to us. So thank you so much. We appreciate the partnership. We love being able to help the Manhattan Beach residents be safe. And thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Dr. Martha Koo. Appreciate that. Another person who volunteers for free time. Appreciate that. Anybody else public comments tonight?
Kids, right?
No one else? Here's one. All right, Lee.
Don't we have the kids that do it? No. Okay, sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Phillips, and I'm commenting on Agenda Item 13. First, I want to thank everyone who works to find solutions for those who are homeless in Manhattan Beach. I did have a question. It's about what the duties of the outreach worker. Does she help with families or only individuals? Families meaning adults and children. Does she outreach, case manage, and navigate? It wasn't clear from reading some of the documents online. If not, why not? And if not, we need a solution for those families who find themselves homeless in Manhattan Beach. I would like to thank the city for adding shared collaboration as a housing model. It is being more widely adopted in the South Bay, which I'm very proud of. Shared collaborative housing is not a shelter, it's actually a home. It's a home with a community. Shared housing includes peer support and recovery model. It's very successful. Many people go into their own apartments, get jobs, and you can even stay if that's your desire. I know personally Brian, the CEO of Share, and I'm a big believer in it. Again, it's not a shelter, it's a home. So again, I'm very proud of what we've accomplished with our housing the homeless. And the PowerPoint discusses all the placements made, but it doesn't address how many refuse shelter and how those are managed. I ask because I don't believe it's safe for anybody to live on the streets. It's, that people who are homeless can be victims of crime. It's not safe. And I also think, this is the housing. I ask it because it's also an issue of public safety. If somebody's sleeping in the public space, it's not safe for the general public. So I asked from a public safety standpoint how that's being managed by the city. Again, I want to thank everyone who works to find solutions for homeless. And I wish everybody a peaceful Thanksgiving. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Lee. Anyone else public comment? How about on Zoom, Martha?
We have Rita Crabtree-Campa.
Okay.
Rita, can you accept the
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Sorry, I just had a little trouble finding that. Thank you, Honorable Mayor Montgomery, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, Honorable City Council members. MB Safe supports a request for the city to increase financial resources, as well as continue collaboration with the South Bay Coalition of Governments, neighboring cities, other agencies working to assist the homeless. MB Safe wants to advocate for increased services for families, however. They present special circumstances, including school enrollment, mental health services, job training, increased nights in transitional housing, food support, just to name a few. Currently, our housing navigator is not authorized at this point to assist with those facilities or those resources that we're outreaching with. Since April of last year, we've had at least 3 families identified here in Manhattan Beach, all living in cars. And Be Safe has worked successfully to address all of their needs. More support for us is needed to support efforts to help them. Additionally, we've had 2 pregnant women and their partners that we were able to reunify with the assistance of our Harbor Interfaith Service navigator. And then Be Safe was able to support the costs of transportation. In addition to families, however, we have seen more challenging cases of individuals in our community with increased mental health and substance use disorders. Collaboration with our housing navigator has been extremely successful, but there are many individuals that are resistant to services. We are supporting the homeless court-like approach to address the needs of these individuals that have been a challenge to house. This effort will support the efforts of our Manhattan Beach Police Department, our housing navigator, and will positively impact the community at large. So I appreciate you taking George's PowerPoint into consideration and looking at increased ways to address all of these issues I've named above. Again, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Martha.
Heather Kim.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I was really happy that our town put on another town hall meeting with the police department. It was very interesting to hear all the presentations. However, I think some feedback would be going forward. We should have a lot more social media outreach via Facebook, Instagram. I know it was put out on stories a few hours prior to the event, but I've heard a lot of older people not really do stories, myself included. But it would be nice if it was in the permanent feed so that it's just another resource for people to go. And I knew it was happening around that week. I just wasn't sure exactly when. So I was kind of scrambling for information. I know that MBPD does a great job of putting out the weekly crime reports, and it was in there. I just had to click on that week's email. But anyways, we should just have a lot more advertisement about the town hall. Luckily, we've had 2 this year, I believe. So I really love that, the pattern of transparency with the community, but also to have more involvement and transparency. It should be a live Q&A session versus the pre-screened questions that are submitted. I think it would really be a lot more informative for our citizens, and some of the presentations that they put on were really great at weekly presentations that they do for Citizens Police Academy. So I would highly recommend that everybody sign up to get really in-depth education on what MBPD does, and really save that town hall for our more pressing questions and concerns. Other than that, I just, also would like to wish everybody a very peaceful and thankful Thanksgiving. And I don't know, the city press release that came out, it just, to me, it sounded a bit propaganda-y. I only say that because what was put out and what is actually a lived experience amongst my neighbors and I are kind of different. So maybe the metrics are different. I know that there's 3 different types of reporting things. So of course it's going to be a little different, but it really does not seem as rosy as the press release that came out. So anyways, I hope you guys take my feedback, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Martha.
Lucia La Rosa Ames.
Right on cue.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I'm not well, so I'm sorry if my accents are going to be even worse today. I want to thank. I would like to second what Rita was saying about the fact that Be Safe is a nonprofit dedicated to finding solution for homelessness, supports the position of and the request from the city to approve the amendment 2 to the contract with the Arbor Interfaith Services and increased budget. And I hope that the city advocates with the county for a different approach, a new approach for homeless families, because we have more and more of them, and we can expect it, considering what's happening in other cities, more of them. And finding housing, also transitional housing for families, there isn't really an adequate solution at a county level. And the solution, I think, must come from a cooperation with the county. Because you can find transitional, even a share is not adequate to address the solution or the needs of a family unit. In addition, this is said, must not be safe, but on a personal level, I'm now representing the position of the board of directors of MB Safe. I want to advocate for affordable housing everywhere, also in Manhattan Beach, because one of the families that we have been helping, 3 members of them are working in Manhattan Beach, and they cannot afford a rent in anywhere near Manhattan Beach. So we need more affordable housing. Thank you very much, and I really hope, I wish you, all of you, a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks.
Thank you, Lucia. Take care of yourself. Our next speaker.
There's no additional raised hands via Zoom.
And I'll close public comment. Before I ask to get into comments here, I keep hearing, folks, that we're seeing more and more homeless in our city. That's not actually true. In 2018, we had 41 that we counted. We're down to 9 in 2022. There is 41 to 9 is a decrease. I don't care who you are, what kind of math you use, that is a decrease. Unofficially, the same number in 23. Are we more observant to people passing through our city? Maybe so. But we're not where we were in 2018. Our program is working. The numbers and data prove it's working. PD, fire, interfaith housing, they're all working. So, and BCHC, you're part of that same process too. So I don't like it when someone says our numbers are increasing. The math is just the opposite. So be careful when you guys say that, except to me. Have your facts in front of you before you say that, because I will count you every single time. Secondarily, yes, item 13, we're talking homelessness. Yes, we ask the county for money every single time we can to help us offset the cost that we incur with the homelessness issue. It's not going away. Realize that. But we're taking advantage of every dollar we can get from the county, which is our own money back, we asked for. So we're on top of it. It's a never-ending battle in my mind. There will never be a cure to homelessness in my mind. I don't see us ever getting there. No matter what the politicians tell you at the county and state level, we will never, ever cure it 100%. Because some people are housing resistant. They're services resistant. You cannot make someone go to a shelter. You cannot make someone go to a share unit. You cannot make someone do something unless do something against the law, and you have to find a way there. The care court starts in LA County December 1st. Contrary again, social media is wrong. It starts December 1st, not sooner than that. We're all across the state following the same rules. So with that said, those of you that made your comments earlier, please pay attention to item 13, where George Gabriel will walk you hand by hand through every single item that will dispel the social media misstatements, especially on the cesspool called Nextdoor. So stick around for the best part. We'll go from there. Council, other comments? You guys good?
Did the Costa reps?
They haven't submitted a foot yet. They haven't stepped down yet. You can't force them to come down, Joe.
Right. Well, they may not be aware.
So you guys are veterans. You have to come down. As soon as it's open, come down. 3 minutes, you're on the clock.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Ava Moore, and I'm here on behalf of Maricosta High School. This Saturday, the varsity football team beat Marietta Mesa to advance in the CIF finals. The championship game will be played at Waller Stadium against Simi Valley this Saturday. The basketball season just recently started after a successful Mustang Madness event. The next game will be this Friday at home against Crean Lutheran. The girls' varsity basketball team also has a home game this Friday at 12 p.m. against Monterey. The soccer season will be starting up next week, as the girls have their first games the Monday after break against El Segundo, and the boys have their first games the Tuesday after break against West Torrance. On November 11th, traditional and game day cheer won regionals and got bids for nationals to Florida. We also had a signing day on campus a week ago, celebrating the student athletes.
Last weekend, Drama wrapped up their production of Peter and the Starcatcher with a great turnout. Continuing with the performing arts, Costa had its annual lip sync contest where ASB 5th period won first place. Let's go. Second place was Comedy Sports, and third place was Color Rush.
The week we get back is packed with events including Comedy Sports having their next match against Palos Verdes High at the Small Theater on December 1st, along with band hosting their annual winter concert that same night. Finally, there will be a PTSA Campus Beautification Day on November 2nd, and Maricosta MUN will host its annual MUN Conference Le MUN the same day.
Thank you. And did you guys mention girls volleyball? Maricosta ranked number 1 now. Do you want to mention that now?
Oh, well, yeah. Yes. Maricosta unfortunately lost in the CIF tournament. However, they were ranked number 1 in the nation.
There you go. Give them a shout out while you guys are here.
And
All right.
the beautification day is December 2nd, right? Yeah. And anyone in the community can show up and start pulling weeds. Yes. Okay, great.
Pemberton Franklin's available December 2nd.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Who else wants to follow that comment? I see Boy Scout coming up. All right. No?
You've intimidated him,
That's
Mr.
all right.
Mayor.
You don't want to follow Maricosta. All right. Anybody else?
I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving as well to everyone.
All right.
And there's an important football game on Saturday. Go Bucks.
All right.
That's all.
Anybody else? Martha, anybody else on Zoom? We're good? All right, close public comment. We go to our very first item here. Consent calendar, item H, items 1 through 8. Council?
Oops. I move approval of consent calendar, items 1 through 8.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a first by Councilmember Howorth and a second by Tim Franklin. And is voice call vote, please?
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. No items are removed, folks. We're going to go to public hearing, item J. Public hearing to consider adoption resolution amending the City Council local coastal program compliance with modifications recommended by the California Coastal Commission for the new coastal hazard chapter of the LCP. I'm pretty excited to keep you guys awake. Good seeing you, Dr. Martha. And led by our own Conduct Director, Mayor Zakanian.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. At this time, I would like to introduce our Environmental Programs Manager, Danielle Pankow, to provide you with this update and staff report.
Thank you. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable City Council members. My name is Daniel Pankow, and I'm here tonight to briefly go over the minor proposed modifications to our local coastal program, Coastal Hazards Chapter. A bit of background and how we arrived at this point. In 2015, the California Coastal Commission unanimously adopted the state sea level rise policy guidance, which outlines the need for planning, resources, and steps for cities to update their LCPs to incorporate sea level rise assessments and adaptation planning. In 2018, Manhattan Beach initiated an update to our LCP addressing coastal hazards, sea level rise, and climate change. In May of 2022, city staff presented the LCP amendment, including the new coastal hazards chapter. Council unanimously approved the amendment and authorized staff to submit to the Coastal Commission. Prior to the required Coastal Commission hearing, city staff and commission staff worked collaboratively upon modifications to the coastal hazards chapter. In August of 2023, the Coastal Commission considered the city's LCP amendment and unanimously approved the amendment with minor modifications. The Commission commended the city for being one of the first jurisdictions to adopt a coastal hazards chapter in accordance with the state guidance. The proposed modifications are specific to the natural management of coastal hazards section, which is one of 5, and the modifications are specific to 3 of the 28 policies listed within the entire document. These are modifications suggested by the Coastal Commission. Modification 1, Policy 4A2, implement a citywide beach dune restoration program and evaluate softer solutions such as living shoreline projects. Suggested modification 2, Policy 4A3, stabilize dunes and back beach with the installation and maintenance of drought-tolerant native coastal vegetation. With native coastal vegetation, native Southern California coastal dune plant species capable of enhancing dune stability and the removal of non-native vegetation. The third modification, which is a new addition, Policy 4A8, develop and implement, when necessary, a winter season temporary sand burn program that minimizes potential adverse biological, scenic, and recreational resource impacts. Quite a bit of public outreach for this LCP amendment up to this point, including 9 public meetings, 6 workshops, and 3 focus groups, along with 3 publicly noticed planning and/or council meetings. So the next steps. The Coastal Act requires the city's adoption of the suggested modifications to the LCP to be completed within 6 months of the Coastal Commission action in order for the amendment to be certified. So that took place on August 9th, 2023. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.
Stand by, Daniel. One question I have for you. When they say the word suggested, then they say you have to do it completed with 6 months. It's not a suggestion. That is a requirement, not a suggestion. Is that correct?
Correct, but all the requirements were collaboratively discussed with city staff along with the commission staff.
So when the word suggested means requirement to us, to me.
Yes.
Okay, so requirement should be the word, not suggested. And of course, did they offer to pay for any of this themselves?
The city did receive a grant for $225,000 from the Coastal Commission for the majority of the funding for this document.
All right, thank you. Stand by. I'm sure we have questions. Start with Councilmember Lesser, then Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
Daniel, I believe this is your first presentation to the council.
It is.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I had a question following up on policy Roman numeral 4A8, the development of the winter beams. And I just want to confirm what's involved for compliance. What's the commitment the city might be taking on versus LA County, which has jurisdiction over the beaches? What are we getting ourselves into here?
Sure. That's a valid question. And I spoke with Daryl Pittman, who's the acting district manager with LA County Beaches and Harbors, and I posed that same question. In general, his response was the city of Manhattan Beach is blessed with a very wide sandy beach with a very steep and quick incline. And in general, we haven't had to berm during the winter seasons, unlike Hermosa or unlike Dockweiler. That being said, if we were to implement the temporary and necessary berm program suggested, it would be included in the operational costs that are currently allocated to the county.
And what would residents see, although I recognize at this point it's still a policy to be promulgated and developed?
Yeah, it would be the sand berms similar to what you'd see at Dockweiler or what you see in Hermosa, where they're placed kind of mid-beach to potentially mitigate the impacts of the storm surge.
Great, thank you. Thank you,
You're
Mr. Mayor.
welcome.
Mayor Franklin? Joe, you're up.
Yes, so I had a question also that you answered in your response to Councilmember Lesser. But how long would that berm, how long would that mountain of sand have to be in place, generally?
Yeah, I think the key wording in that particular section or policy number is that it's temporary and when necessary. And I think there's a little bit of wiggle room on our end as to how long the berm itself would be in place. And I think in my conversations that I've had with LA County Beaches and Harbors, it's not something that they see currently necessary, and therefore I wouldn't, if in fact we did need to berm, I wouldn't think that it would be for a significant amount of time.
So in the hierarchy of taking care of the coastal properties, or if you will, I mean, is that enough? Will that satisfy the Coastal Commission? Will be the Beaches and Harbors assessment?
It would.
Yeah.
It would.
Okay. Going to policy 4A3, stabilize dunes and back beach with the installation and maintenance of drought-tolerant native Southern California coastal. So is what we've seen by, I forget which organization did that?
Yeah, the Bay Foundation.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Is that an example of what they're talking about?
Exactly,
Okay.
100%.
So that was quite an effort. It took a lot of volunteers, it took a lot of time, and it had to be done again because the roots of, from what I understand, the roots of the ice plant
Yeah,
that has been there for decades was way down, and so when the rain came, that just started to grow again. That potentially, and it said to do citywide, we only did a relatively small portion from, I believe, was it Marine Avenue through to about 18th Street or something?
Yeah, that's approximately
Okay.
correct.
I mean, it could be a significant project. I mean, especially if you have to hire somebody to do it. And you said 6 months, right? We have to get this done in 6 months.
We just have to get the resolution back to the Coastal Commission within 6 months.
Oh, not the work finished?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you see we're going to do that? How are we going to do that work?
Sure.
Or how is it going to be done?
Thank you. To respond to that question, I would like to say the way the Coastal Commission is looking at this is that we would need to do that where we find it necessary throughout the city. At this time, and according to our assessment, we haven't found it necessary in other places. As time goes on, if things evolve ecologically and we find it necessary, at that time we would implement those actions in those areas.
So we haven't seen dune erosion then?
That's correct.
Okay. That's good news. And then finally, is it the first one? The one that mentioned the bike path and the distance to the beach. Where was that? There was something in there. Sorry, I thought I had it all.
4A3.
Yeah, 4A3. Yeah. No, it was the setback. Well, I thought it was 4A3, but it's not
Are
in
you
this.
talking about back beach and says setback?
Well, when I mentioned the distance from the bike path and also from the beach.
That's correct. That's actually part of the original language that was adopted by council. The only thing they changed there was that they wanted us to use the words native Southern California coastal dune plant species instead of native coastal vegetation.
So it wasn't.
So that was the minor modification there.
Okay, so we're okay with the bike path as far as the specifications?
So everything that we're doing as part of our coastal policies is intended to protect the bike path, and particularly the sea level rise assessment showed that the only things that would be in jeopardy in a 100-year storm, over the course of the next hundreds of years would be potentially the bike path and some of the restroom facilities. So all of the work that's included in terms of implementation of these programs on an ongoing nature are to protect any of those recreational resources that would potentially be impacted.
Okay, so basically, everything looks good, and there's really not a whole lot of work that needs to be done. And we can take the $225,000 and throw a beach party?
Not quite.
Not really? Okay. Thank you.
Are you good?
Yep.
So, Brad, for those of you watching this at home, he's not talking about the upper strand bike path. He's talking about the LA County bike path, Marvin Broad bike path. That's a county bike path. It's not our bike path. Otherwise, we're good to go. Council, any questions for Daniel?
Not questions.
Council Napolitano, Steve?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Daniel, please have a standby until we ask for questions. Have a seat, we'll give you a call back.
Thank you.
Open up for public comment. Anyone here want to talk about sand dunes, sea level rise? Anyone? That's an exciting topic. Anyone at home, Martha, on Zoom?
There's no raised hands via Zoom.
All right, we'll close public comment and go to Councilmember Howorth.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, there's stuff going on our screen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am going to move that we adopt resolution number 23-0154, was the amendments to the city's local coastal program. And I want to welcome Daniel Pankow as well to your first meeting. I appreciate that you, in your report, you mentioned how you had proactively reached out to the director of the harbor, because I think that you gave us some information that we needed. And that's the kind of stuff we're always looking for. Like, wait, have you really spoken to, what does it mean to have a berm and what does it mean? And I appreciate that you mentioned that you had reached out to find out about that. That's very helpful in making our decisions. Also with regard to the project that you mentioned, Councilmember Franklin, that was originally, we received a grant that Juliet, working with Dana Murray and Juliet got to do that dune restoration project as sort of a beta project, as sort of a, to see if this would potentially work. And so, this is how you learn. Well, ice plant has deep roots, right? So this is the kind of stuff you learn. But it's really important that we keep our eye on this, that we make amendments, that we keep checking back in, and that we also work so collaboratively with the Coastal Commission, which Director, Mirzakhanian. I just want to say Director Tallene, and that's not what I can do. But I think the community should know how closely you are working with the Coastal Commission on everything, and that is such a key here. So thank you for that. So I'm making a motion to approve.
All right, Councilmember Lesser.
I second the motion. I was going to make similar comments to Councilmember Howorth. This began when we had the privilege of serving on council before, along with the mayor and Councilmember Napolitano, and I'm pleased to see this moving forward as it is, and compliment staff and working with Coastal Mission staff to get this done.
Thank you. Franklin?
Yes, and I just want to mention, I was actually out there working on that, so it was a really, shall I say, fun? It was actually, there was a lot of camaraderie, and it was great. We really appreciate all the volunteers that came and helped. Also, restoring the one of the city flowers, right? The
Yeah,
primrose.
Primrose.
Plant. So it's nice to ride down there, or walk by it and see it coming in the spots where it's coming up. So give a call if you need some more help. Thank you.
Don't worry, I planted a camellia there.
Councilmember Napolitano, you want to make it 4 for 4?
Let's vote.
There you go. Thank you. Vote, please. Verbal vote.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you both. Appreciate that. Our next item up, number 10, is general business. Consideration of adopting resolution number 23-0155 to modify the storm drain measure ballot question. And that is led by our Finance Director, Steve Shrillian. The floor is yours, sir. 158, I'm sorry. Resolution 23-0158.
Great. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Montgomery, members of the City Council. Steve Shrillian, your Finance Director. Tonight for your consideration is Resolution 23158 to modify the storm drain ballot question on Resolution 23149. Starting off with a little background, after confirming there was no majority protest at the November 7th public hearing, the city engaged with a communication professional to assist the city in educating the public with impartial, factual information about the proposed storm drain fee increase. The professional recommended the following ballot question in order to enhance transparency. The new ballot question can be found on page 278 of your packet. Additionally, Resolution 23149 had approved election procedures which required a signature line on the return envelope. Since the ballot itself contains a signature line for the voter, the requirement for the return envelope to also have a signature line was removed in the amendment election procedure. This was to avoid a redundancy and streamlining the process. Staff recommends City Council adopt Resolution 23158 to modify the ballot question adopted in Resolution 23149 and adopt the amended election procedures. Staff is here, along with our communication professional, Charles Heath, via Zoom, to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Well done. Council, any questions, Director Shillian, on this? Anyone? Checking your phones. Everybody good? All right. Thank you, Steve. Let's go to public comment. Anyone here want to talk about the ballot measure for storm drain fees? Anyone? All right. Let's go outside to Zoom. Martha, anyone on Zoom talk about storm drain fees?
There's no raised hands via Zoom.
All right. Then we'll close public comment. Council? You want to lead us off here?
I'd make a motion, but my screen is frozen.
Okay. Make a verbal motion.
Can I, or did you want to make it?
Make a verbal motion anytime.
Can I? I move that we adopt Resolution 23-0158 to modify the ballot language in Resolution number 23-0149.
All right.
And I'll second.
So we have a first by Councilmember Howorth, a second Councilmember Lesser, and Mr. Franklin, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Comment.
I'd like to, we've gotten some feedback from the public, and I'm not quite sure if they understand the scope and the amount and scope of the storm drain system. So when we say to fund repairs, operations, maintenance, and improvements to the city of Manhattan beaches, I'd like to say how many miles, or just give some perspective of this, because we each go, and as we're walking along, we see empties to the ocean, storm drain, but how many miles do we actually have of storm drains, and a little bit of an idea of the infrastructure?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Eric Lee. I'm Public Works Director. We have 24 miles of storm drain lines that we're responsible for maintaining. So 15.82 miles is city-owned and 8.3 miles is county-owned, but we're obligated to maintain the county side of that. And so it's a significant amount of drain lines. There are other pumps and lift stations associated with that, and it's a major utility that the city operates.
Answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Okay. Well, then, then I would like to suggest that we consider inserting that into the language.
Do you have a proposal as to where, Mayor Pro Tem?
Right after Manhattan Beaches, so where it says, and improvements to the city of Manhattan Beaches, 24 miles of aging storm drain
24 or
system.
81, I'm sorry.
81's different. There's-
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
he
just
just
heard
said 24, yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Did I say 81?
I did.
Oh, you
because
did,
I'm getting a
okay.
little distracted.
Yeah, because I scratched that out, because I had that from the last
That was
time.
a different, that's the sewer.
Yeah, that's the sewer, yeah. So 24 miles.
So Mayor, what I would suggest is keep the language that's recommended by our consultant, and but that's the type of information that can be put into the pamphlet and can be given to the public because it's factual, it's impartial, and so the city can do that on a regular basis.
Understood. All right, Joe, you heard the city attorney say it's not good to change it miles-wise. Put that in
Or
there.
it's not good to put it in the ballot
And
language.
this ballot language, he's talking about do it by informational ballot, pamphlets, not in the
Right.
resolution.
Well, I'm just thinking of the voter who just gets the ballot, and that's all they're reading it from, as
Understood.
opposed to any of the other information.
Understood.
So,
The maker motion want to include that in there or not?
No, I want the language to stand because it's been worked on and that will go into information and talking points, et cetera.
Okay. Councilor Les, you good with that?
I'm good with that. Let me just direct to the city manager. Is this an opportunity for the consultant to weigh in, or do you have any comment on this? Do you think it's sufficient to have this language in the ballot description rather than the language? The whole point of, I think, the mayor pro tem is to be clear.
Yes, I think, I agree with the city attorney on this, and also I think there's a potential that if we were to change the language, it would delay the ballots.
There we go. Thank you.
So in other words, you're good to stand pat?
I am. My second stance.
Thank you. Councilor Napolitano?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, this is a legal description. We really should stick with what's there. I totally agree with Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Franklin that we want to get as much information out as possible. But let's remember, every household, every parcel of property owner is going to get a pamphlet of information. That's purely educational information. It's not advocacy, but information on what this is about, what it's for. So that's being worked up right now, my understanding is, and we'll be going out to every property owner who has a vote in this. And so, we want to, and there's going to be all other information coming out as well, not just one time, but several times. So, this is supposed to be short, sweet, and legally just defensible, and I don't want to delay the vote on this because then we run into, school district goals and things like that.
Understood. Thank you. All right. Verbal vote, please.
Councilmember Napolitano,
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
yes.
Councilmember Lesser.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Director Shurian. We're going to move to item 11, consideration of a resolution adopting a Coyote management and response plan, and consideration of termination of exemption pursuant to sections 1506. I'll stop there. Turn over to the city manager, George Gabriel. George, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Montgomery and members of the City Council. Tonight we'll be discussing Coyote management and do I need to press this? No. Sorry. Thank you. By way of overview, I wanted to provide some background on how we've gotten here, some data and mapping, community staff and education efforts, Coyote management and response plan, the actual plan that was also discussed at a prior meeting, as well as the response chart, the environmental review that we just undertook, and what we're asking from the City Council tonight. So by way of background, we've come a long way. This discussion stems from June 21, 2022, where there was an initial request to agendize the discussion and report. Following that, we had a preliminary report where we had an overview of what our current response on coyotes are. Following that, City Council wanted to investigate and inventory the coyote population and to provide a report with findings. So we hired a consultant Humane Wildlife Control, and they provided a report at the September 5th meeting. Following that, council deferred action on this and said, let's do a 6-month waiting period, assess it, return to city council with additional data, and then research allowable options for residents to protect themselves from coyotes as well. Thereafter, in February 21, the city council received that 6-month review, and they directed staff to adjust the city's approach to coyote management, including further exploration of a selective trapping program.
Bill, you need some help there? He caught his foot on this here.
We have a microphone.
Yeah, we got a microphone for him.
Well, he's not.
Hold on for a second, folks.
He's not commenting. Then, yes, but he's
Yeah,
not.
maybe.
Dave, he's not trying to speak right now. He's only standing up. Why would we give him a microphone?
Wait. We're waiting. Stand by.
Okay, but, sorry.
Hang on to that, Bruce, until it's needed. Hang on to that until it's needed.
Thank you.
All right. Please, George, continue. Thank you, everybody, for helping.
Continuing on to what occurred at the July or at the April 4th discussion, City Council directed staff to return with the CEQA review and trapping management contract for the Coyote Management and Response Plan. So July 5th, we had a consultant on board. We appropriated funds and approved an agreement with Michael Baker International to conduct an environmental consulting services for the Coyote Management and Response Plan as recommended by legal counsel. And so today we're at the culmination of all these efforts. So by way of update, I wanted to give the council an update on how are we trending, what's going on, what is the data telling us. And as you can tell, from 2016 to 2020, the numbers in terms of total sightings, confirmed predations, unconfirmed predations, those numbers are relatively steady. From 2021 to 2023 on, they have increased in terms of sightings. However, I would like to preface it by saying that reported sightings can be potentially misleading. And I only say that because it does not account for unique coyotes. It accounts for duplicated. So one coyote can be seen multiple times and contribute to multiple sightings. So I would say from 2022 to 2023 on, the city has undertaken substantial community education efforts to tell our animal controls officers when there is a reported sighting so that they can take appropriate actions, hazing, and so on when necessary. But as you can tell, unconfirmed predations increased since 2020, as well as confirmed predations are actually holding relatively steady. So what does our monthly observation data look like? And so consistent with what we about to expect, April to June is a little bit of increased activity as it relates to reported sightings and unconfirmed predations. But since June, numbers have fallen off pretty drastically from 9 total observations to 1 as recently as this month. So we also track the mapping of where these sightings are occurring. As you can tell in the time period from February 2022 to October 2023, a lot of the activity is located in the northeast corner of the city, as well as the southeast corners of the city. So primarily on the east side of the community where these sightings are occurring, as well as the confirmed and unconfirmed predations, with some activity on the west side. So just by way of reference, I wanted to provide what another city is seeing as it relates to sightings. You know, certainly I'd like to provide additional cities, but Torrance is a little bit more on the, they provide a lot more data than other cities. And so as you can tell from the numbers that you see, Torrance has undertaken a coyote trapping program. Their trapping program has yielded from 14 coyotes trapped in October 2019 to 15 the following year, 31 the year after that, and just as recently, 22 coyotes trapped. As you can tell with the coyote sighting numbers, those numbers have somewhat decreased. However, one question I did ask Torrance is, can we say with definitive proof that this has resulted in an increase or decrease in the coyote population? And they couldn't say that conclusively because there was no baseline. They didn't do a coyote inventory survey that would indicate that the coyote population has substantially decreased or not. So, and then I should also point out that another neighboring city in the region that is undertaking the trapping approach is the city of Rancho Palos Verdes. I wasn't able to obtain any data from Rancho Palos Verdes, but they do contract with a trapper, as well as they are able to receive county services from the County Department of Weights and Measures as well for trapping services. Yes, quite unique. So I'd like to highlight some of the community and staff education efforts that have been going on the past 1.5 to 2 years on this topic. So as you see to the right in that image, that's a handout that our animal control officers have frequently passed out either at community events or while going door to door when there's been a coyote sighting in the neighborhood. We have a whole city website with a variety of information on our coyote efforts, as well as tips and tricks to assist the community with responding to coyotes. Staff has been somewhat of a leader in this area as it relates to coyote response and animal control. Hermosa and Redondo haven't addressed coyotes to the extent that we have. And so our animal control division is taking a leadership role with trying to coalesce all the animal control departments within each respective city and serve in a leadership position on this. And then obviously we also had additional messaging on city social media and as recently as the police department town hall that took place last week. I think everyone remembers the hazing demonstration.
Don't do it again.
So what is our strategy? What is the approach that's outlaid, that's shown on the coyote management response plan? It's four-pronged, ensuring public safety above all else, obviously enhancing coyote deterrence efforts, and it's obviously done with the third tool, which is public outreach and education, because you can deter coyotes, but ultimately residents need to be armed with the information in order to have a successful deterrence effort. And then 4 is active monitoring and data collection. And I think one thing you've seen is that every time we've came to council is that we've supported it with data that we receive as well as mapping. And I think that's helpful to understand the scope of what's occurring in the community and what individuals or residents are observing. So how can we quickly summarize our coyote management response plan? Well, it's somewhat complicated, but I'll try to do my best to not complicate it. And there's a tiered chart. And so this response chart is color coordinated. And so in a very, it kind of goes from white to red and obviously in the severity of the coyote action. And so white is heard, seen moving or heard howling. And so we have a corresponding response action by the city and then mitigation resources or enforcement that may be necessary. Move on to green, and then what I will point out is yellow, orange, and red is where a potential lethal removal or capture would be considered by the city. I will say that it's important to note that the only instances where coyote trapping may be considered is when there is attractants that are not present, or there is not a provoked action, let's say by an individual, that would cause a coyote to act in an aggressive behavior or an abnormal behavior. So that was our approach with addressing the coyote management plan, is that we're targeting aggressive coyotes that would necessitate a trapping consideration, as well as targeting coyotes that are acting in an abnormal manner. And so it should be noted that biting or injuring a person would then require the state of California to step in, the Fish and Wildlife, where they would undergo lethal removal when necessary, as they've done in other cities where this has occurred. And as you could tell by the data that was indicated prior, that we have had no injuries to persons as a result of coyote attack. So our environmental review, staff is attached with the assistance of a consultant supporting documentation for an exemption under CEQA pursuant to the sections indicated in the PowerPoint. Accordingly, the adoption of the Coyote Management Response Plan is exempt from CEQA as a result of the analysis that was undertaken, and no further environmental review is necessary or required. So staff is recommending that the City Council adopt resolution 23-0151 adopting the Coyote Management Response Plan, determine that the adoption of the plan is exempt. And following that, I think staff is requesting that City Council, if City Council adopts the resolution, Council discuss and provide direction to staff regarding soliciting bids from certified trappers for on-call trapping services in conformance with the actions that would necessitate a trapping consideration stated in the plan. And that would conclude my report. I'm available for questions, as well as the consultant is available.
Good. Stand by. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin's first up. Joe?
Okay, George, thank you for that. So just to get it right, if you can put that last slide on. So if it's a situation where it's red, we're going to be calling in the California Department of Wildlife, and they're going to go ahead and
yes,
aggressively trap and terminate the offending coyote.
Yes.
Anything that's in the yellow or orange category, that would be the person or persons or the company that we hire to do that ourselves based
Correct.
upon the behavior,
Correct.
the errant behavior of the coyote.
Yes.
Okay. And going back to the city of Torrance, because we talked about them quite a bit, early on in our analysis. So it looked like they removed quite a few, I don't remember the number, it was close to 100, I think, right? Coyotes. One of the things I read was that that removing coyotes, sometimes they breed more. Okay, was any of that kind of, and I know you said that they had not established really a baseline, but anecdotally, what would someone from the City of Torrance Animal Control Center say? Would they say, yeah, there's been a lot more coyotes around because they bred more, or not, or?
I think anecdotally speaking, I believe, as with anything that the council provides to staff, is that it's all a tool. And so to the extent that it's a tool in either community education in terms of raising awareness on coyotes, it can certainly be used for that. But obviously, I'll be remiss to say if it's effective or not. I mean, I think that's been widely debated. And so what we're doing here tonight is just trying to give another tool if trapping consideration is required per the plan.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Let's see. Councilmember Lesser, you're up.
George, thank you for your report. Can you review the criteria for initiating a trapping and also define what I thought would be the criteria, which is to be an aggressive coyote and what that entails? What is the criteria there?
So when you say the criteria, you mean what would be within the yellow and orange and the red criteria?
Red in particular. And what are the steps?
Primarily, so some of the criteria is, one, entering a private yard and injuring or killing an unattended pet without attractants present. That's one element. Biting or injuring an unattended free-roaming pet or pet on a leash longer than 6 feet without attractants present. Biting or injuring an attended pet. Aggressive, showing teeth, back for raise, lunging, nipping without contact. And then finally, biting or injuring a person.
Do we have a record of any of that to date?
No, not to date. I think we have records of pets certainly being attacked, but I think in most instances that I can recall personally, based on conversations with animal control, is that there was an attractant that was present for the coyote.
Okay. Thank you for going through that. So it would be fair to characterize what we would be doing by adopting the plan as amended with this ability to trap, with having this as an additional tool if we need it. So it would be in place. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Thank you for getting the additional information from Torrance. It is helpful. But picking up on Mayor Pro Tem Franklin's questioning, what we just learned last week at the Manhattan Beach crime meeting from the animal control officer who memorably made a presentation on coyotes is they do adapt, as Mayor Pro Tem Franklin indicated. So I'm just wondering, to the extent that a coyote is trapped, particularly with a smaller population than Torrance, wouldn't it just invite more coyotes to replace them, or how would you analyze that?
Well, I don't want to speak beyond my pay grade. I'm certainly not a biologist. I think the theory espouses that that a coyote would enter into a family unit. If, let's say, a family unit is missing the male or female, and one of those is trapped, then that coyote unit would enter that family and then potentially procreate additionally.
Okay. Last question. In terms of Torrance, in terms of what steps they go through, is it similar to what's being embedded in our guide in terms of what criteria that you just went through would be required? Is that what Torrance is applying in coming up with these numbers that are part of your chart?
Yeah. So Torrance does not. So what we would espouse our approach is a selective trapping program where it's kind of scenario based. Torrance does not have a selective trapping program. They have an all-year trapping program. So that means that they place traps in different areas of the city, complying with state laws and regulations, and they have it standing at certain locations, and whatever they trap is what they trap.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Napolitano. Steve, any questions of George?
No questions.
Thank you. All right, George, then for me, we'll sit back and we'll open up public comment now. Thank you. Well done. Public comment wants to talk about coyotes. Anybody here? Coyotes? No one? How about Martha, Zoom? Anyone online?
There's no raised hands via Zoom.
No raised hands. All right. Close public comment. Council, who wants to lead us off here on coyotes? No one? Bill, you want to lead us off here on coyote management plan?
Sure. It's no doubt traumatic when someone loses a pet to a coyote. We got a lot of reports. We got a lot of public input, from residents talking about coyote behavior around them. We saw, predations. We witnessed those, or at least witnessed in many cases the aftermath of them. There's no doubt that coyotes are part of the ecosystem now. It can be considered tragic. They could be considered a beautiful animal, and they definitely are very adaptable and clever and smart. But we have people to protect. We have children to protect. Pets are in many cases a cherished member of the family, as maybe even a child. And we do live in a dense area. There are, the coyotes that come in. There is some open area where they could probably create a den and the like. So I'm in favor of hiring the trapper and follow the situations of the yellow and the orange. Certainly, they can help with the reporting of the red and bringing in the state folks. But I think we owe that level of protection to our residents and our pets here in Manhattan Beach.
All right. Mr. Howorth, Councilor Lesser, no comments? Anyone?
I'll speak. I've been one who's raised concerns about engaging a trapper. I've had concerns because, just as Mr. Gabriel indicated, we have no reports of coyotes posing a threat to humans in our history. We've also had presentations by our animal control officer about how coyotes actually seek to avoid humans. However, we've all seen these really horrifying videos from other cities, not close to Manhattan Beach, where coyotes have attacked particularly children, which has caused legitimate concern. Also, my family, like others in the community, have lost pets, perhaps to coyote, but certainly to predators, and that is our assumption. The biggest concern I also had was whether we had done enough outreach to really let the community know that we play a role in the habitation of coyotes in our community. They're drawn to our trash. They're drawn to food bowls that are left outside for pets. They're drawn to habitat where they can create dens with shrubs. I nonetheless am willing to support this, at least the adoption of the plan, based on this criteria that Mr. Gabriel also described, in terms of what criteria must be met before, in a selective trapping program, unlike Torrance, that we would engage in Manhattan Beach. So I think I've had long conversations with staff outside of these meetings, and based on the criteria and what I would call the safeguards, I would be willing to move forward. I think Torrance does have a broader program that I'd have some more problems with if this were the type of program we were adopting here.
Thank you. Councilor Howorth?
Yeah, I've made a motion that I will, to adopt the Coyote Management and Resolution Response Plan, which is resolution number 23-0151. And for very much the same reasons that Councilmember Lesser mentioned, I appreciate the response chart, and I think that, I already made a note to share it with a few friends who are always talking to me about coyotes, et cetera. But I think it's really important to note the red zone, right? If a coyote were to bite a human, and we don't have record of that, the state comes in and takes care of it. I mean, we do have, there are other safeguards, but this is merely a tool. I think we need to constantly do outreach and educate people as to how to haze the coyote. There's lots of grins and giggles about that, but I'm sure it works. And then also, I know that there are people who are fond of feeding wild cats, and I've been told that those people get very mad when I mention this. But if you look, especially in the northwest section of our city, that's where there is a lot of feeding of feral cats, and there are known food bowls, right? Where you could, and they feed. So please don't do that, and then the other cats in the neighborhood have a better chance of living. But I think we should put this response chart, prominently on our website and make it easy for people to understand what tools there are to safeguard them. But I'll be supporting this.
All right. Napolitano, Steve, any questions, comments?
No, I agree with the comments presented already, especially with Councilmember Lesser. This is really, as I see it, something that we need to have in our back pocket. We did the environmental review as required, as we were told it was required to put this in place so that we can do it when we need to do it. I don't want to do it at this point just for the sake of doing it. We're holding steady on a lot of our numbers at the moment, and as things change, we can reevaluate. But I think for now, the motion is the correct one. Thank you.
All right. With that, Councilor Howorth, do you want to make a comment regarding your motion?
No, I made a motion.
Okay. Determine the CEQA part of it. Item number 2.
Let's see. I said consideration of a determination of exemption pursuant to sections 15061B3 and 15308. Yes.
Anything else on that? We good?
No, I don't. I think that's it.
All right. Yes, Bruce.
So I just want to make sure that whatever the motion is addresses whether you want us to go out and solicit bids for trapping.
Piece.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Here, read this third piece.
I'm looking at the.
Right
okay.
here.
Yes, I would also amend my motion to provide direction to staff regarding soliciting bids from certified trappers for on-call trapping services.
We covered all 3. Yes on the resolution, yes on the CEQA documentation, and number 3, bids for trappers.
For on-call trappers.
Anything else to cover? We good? That's a yes. Okay, then voice call vote, please, Lisa.
Parks and Rec are on call.
Councilmember Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin.
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery.
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Well done. Move to item 12, consideration of the Cultural Arts Commission recommendations for your mural artwork, and that meets Art Center, police fire locations, and what is it? Selection of final artwork at Manhattan Heights. All right, we'll stop there. Turn it over to Parks Rec Director Lehman. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Alan Stewart, our Cultural Arts Manager, will be presenting this item.
All right, Alan, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you for having me here to discuss our artwork. So this is just a summary of how we got to where we are and the number of submissions that were reviewed for this process. I'm not sure if we need to really read through all of that. And this is just a reminder of the locations that we had originally. 5 of the 7 locations already have approved murals for them, and so we're looking at those last 2 locations. We'll start with the easiest one, which is location 1, the Manhattan Beach Heights Complex. City Council approved the artwork for Armel No. However, they directed staff to reach out to the artist and ask for renderings that were better sized to the actual walls, and the artist did come back with these 2 options. Would you like to go through the entire presentation first, or do it one at a time?
I think this is good. They didn't have time to Photoshop the option 1 or option 2 in it, but it's fine. It's good art. So you're asking us to pick one of these 2.
Correct.
All right, so we'll do them one at a time. How's that? At this point, Council, any comments on the option 1 or option 2 for the Heights Complex?
I don't have a preference.
Yes.
You pick one.
Okay, well, I'd like to just make a comment if option 1 is selected. Sorry, I'd like to see a helmet on the skateboarder. Okay?
And Mayor,
Strapped, preferably strapped.
For public comment on each one.
I'll do each one.
Yeah.
You want to do it after we select or before we select each one?
Before you select.
Okay.
See if-
And then please step back for a second. Public comment on this art. Anyone talk about art for Heights Complex? Seeing none, how about on Zoom?
There are no raised hands via Zoom.
Close public comment on the first one. Alan, back up. Now, Joe, go ahead.
Okay, helmet on option number 1, if that's selected. And I kind of agree with the public comments. They're almost a majority, almost unanimous in saying that that's just a problematic location. I remember that I was helped with what was it, Leadership, Manhattan Beach, the outer wall on the street? Mm-hmm. Okay. And, you know, like the neighbors, there was actually some people that objected to that because it's vivid, it's colorful and things like that. And I don't think they were talking about my spot where I drew outside the lines, but this building is set back, and there is vegetation around it, and I just don't know if it's going to be seen. I mean, I think when people they park there, they walk by, so I would almost. I want to hear other comments, but I would almost recommend that we don't do it there.
You're a pass. All right, Councilor Lesser.
I like option 1 with the skateboarder having a helmet because it has movement, it has the variety of the different sports, it speaks to what the building is about, even though it does more than that. The bigger question is, I think we are exploring potentially utilizing this building for another purpose, potentially in the future, and I thus would suggest if there's support that we clearly want to ensure in the contract that we have our rights and our ability to dismantle, decommission the work at a later date. But I like option 1.
Great, thank you. Councilor Howorth?
Option 1.
Okay. Councilor Napolitano, Steve?
Option 1.
I'll make it unanimous. Option 1 that is, and we're good to go on option 1.
Perfect. With
With
the
change
addition
for
of the
skateboard
helmet.
It wasn't unanimous.
Yeah, it was 4-1.
Joe passed, so 4-1.
One abstention.
One abstention with the helmet added on option 1. Next slide.
Got my helmet, thank you.
The next location we will discuss is location 6, the Police Department Fire Station Wall. As City Council requested, we are bringing back we're calling it the Shark Mural by Eric Snyder. One thing that I wanted to note was that after the City Council meeting, but before this item was asked to be brought back, the artist did revise his proposal slightly to address some of the City Council's concerns in terms of having it relate more specifically to Manhattan Beach. So he added some of the little orange Garibaldi fish that are native to our waters. Also, before the direction to bring this item back, the Cultural Arts Commission did make recommendations for other possibilities for this location. So if you wouldn't mind, I would like to go through those as well. This is a proposal by Pamela Wall. She does have another mural that was approved for Marine Avenue Park. Her proposal is this larger-than-life nautilus that speaks to the 4 elements. You can see the fire and the orange on the left, water, of course, kind of all around with little bits of your air and earth. So that is one option. The next option is an updated, more realistic proposal from Alex Weinstein. This was another proposal a similar proposal by Alex was reviewed at the original meeting, and Alex talks about kind of the size and the space of the ocean and the sky and this connection between the ocean and the sky. Next, we have Brendan Monroe, who does these op art pieces that are typically, they kind of look like they're coming out of right at you, and in this case, he's talking about the rolling waves of the ocean and the water splashing around. Next, we have Emily Tanaka, and her proposal speaks directly to the servicemen and women for the police and fire department that would work in this building, but also includes elements relating to Manhattan Beach, like the ocean and the seagull. And last but not least, we have Jen Levita, again, patriotic homage to Manhattan Beach.
That's it? Sorry. All right, stand by for a second. Any public comments on this art proposed for the site of the police fire building? Besides Chief Lang, anybody else? Have any comments? Seeing none here.
I have a question, Your Honor.
Okay, stand by one. Martha, anybody on Zoom?
Heather Kim.
All right.
I really did not like that 3D mural, the shark coming out of the wall. I mean, the artist is obviously really talented, but I think it's almost too realistic looking, kind of scary. The kids walking past there, going to Live Oak and library. I don't know, it just doesn't fit that place. I would prefer to see that patriotic one by Jen Levita would be my first choice. It's beautiful. It has, you know, the American flag. It's just appropriate at that corner of the fire department. So please consider not putting up that shark. It's beautiful. The artist is talented, but it's kind of tacky for that location. And it could maybe cause an accident, people staring at it. I don't know.
Running from it. Thank you. Anybody else?
There are no additional raised hands.
Close public comment. Steve, you're up.
Thank you. Alan, just a question for you first. Where did these other proposals come from? Were they in the mix before? And they just pushed these forward again when we asked for more choices? Or are some of these like Pamela Wall, is that altogether new?
So some of these were in the mix before, some of them were not. After the City Council meeting, we took out all of the proposals that City Council viewed, so there were 27 proposals. And then any other proposal that was not reviewed by City Council, we reached out to those artists and gave them an opportunity to update their proposal, which some people took to make a few tweaks and some people took to kind of submit an entire new piece, and we went ahead and accepted all of those. Just, you know, so anyone any piece that was not reviewed by City Council was in this mix of updated proposals. So some of these are new.
I get it. All right, thanks. Okay, Your Honor, I'll just go into comments since you won't know when I raise my hand or anything. So, you know, the shark, I love the shark. You know what? It's scary, great. That's how realistic it is. It comes out 3D. It's an attraction for people to see. You want people to see art. You don't want them just to drive by. But having said that, I'm really encouraged by some of these other submittals that we didn't see before. And I'm sorry to say that we didn't see them before. I'm sorry, but the Weinstein piece still doesn't do anything for me. Brennan Monroe piece, waves, black and white, that doesn't evoke waves to me. That looks like someone took a barcode and squished it together. Emily Tanaka, nice piece there. Jim Levita, I get it. The flag, it's a bit redundant though, and with the flagpole just on the corner there already, and the the stereotypical palm trees and everything. I'm in favor of the Pamela Wall piece. I think it's vibrant, it's colorful, and I don't think anyone will get in a traffic accident over it. But I think it would be a nice addition to that space there. And maybe at another point we can find a spot for the shark. Thank you, Robert.
Well said. Who wants to go next? Councilmember Howorth.
Yeah, I mean, God, I hate agreeing with Steve so much, but I mean, I had hated the shark, and then I liked the shark, and I asked that the shark come back. And I still would like to see the shark somewhere. But I actually think that Pamela Wall's piece, I really appreciate that it's got the 4 elements in there with the fire, and then you use water to put fire out. And I think it's a very kind of evocative or resonant piece for our community. So I do like that one too, the Pamela Wall piece.
Okay, Mayor Tim Franklin, you're up.
Yes, so I wore this suit today to evoke the thought of Larry Vaughn, who was the mayor of Amity in the movie Jaws. Okay.
Very striking resemblance.
And, right, isn't it pretty much, And
Need a bigger boat?
Need a bigger wall.
yeah, need a bigger wall, right.
Funny.
And I mean, we're kind of putting at risk, I think, with a scary shark of kids in particular really enjoying Manhattan Beach. And as they walk, and that thought of that is in their mind as they go into the water, could make, now if you recall, if you were around here in the 70s, people didn't go swimming because of that movie. So I don't like the shark. I also just don't feel, I said this before, that every white space needs to be filled with art. I think about our firefighters that are there. That's their home. It's basically their second home. And as much as anybody here on the dais may like the shark, imagine it painted on your garage door. And we wouldn't do that, and I don't really want to do that to the firefighters or to the residents of Manhattan Beach. So these others are beautiful in here in their own way, but I just vote for nothing like I did before.
I got you. You're a pass. Councilor Lesser?
2 parts, at the risk of jumping the shark. I too love the shark, but not at this location for reasons that Mayor Franklin indicated. It's kind of funny, it's cool, but this is a serious place, and it's so close to our 9/11 sculpture that I just don't think that's the right place. I actually forwarded to the city manager another potential location, but I want to defer to the process of perhaps letting the Cultural Arts Commission look at other places, including perhaps even on a wall space that I found at the entrance to the Civic Center, where perhaps a smaller scale version of it would work and could be kind of fun and add to the wall space. So I hope we can find another place for the wall if there's unanimity on council. With regard to these subsequent pieces, I completely agree with Councilmember Napolitano. I wish we had these originally. I like the ones that was preferred by Councilmember Napolitano and Councilmember Howorth. I actually like Emily Tanaka's work, which has the firefighters, perhaps a smaller scale, But the reason why is, again, it speaks to the place. It speaks to the building. It speaks to the 9/11 sculpture. It's also, if you read the descriptive and study it, it also speaks to our city in terms of being proximate to the ocean. So I like Emily Tanaka's work. I certainly am taken by the beauty of Pamela Wall's piece, so I want to stop talking and welcome more council discussion. But my first choice would be Emily Tanaka's piece.
Oh, great. I'll round us up here. I think the shark is fantastic, personally. I think levity is good. That's a serious job they do there. It needs some sense of humor somewhere around this place and sense of humor. I think it's fantastic. So I would have voted for the shark first, but I can count votes here. So my second choice, I'm going to go Pamela Wall for the color and what it's doing. Those of us that can't draw or paint, appreciate those that can. And I like Pamela. All the artists are much better than me. So Pamela Wall is my first choice. I think we have 3 votes. Pamela Wall will make it official. Pamela Wall for that wall. All right? Next up, Ellen.
And just to
Excuse me,
compare.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I see if there's consensus on seeing if there is another location for the shark that might make sense? Or do you
Yes,
rather-
I think all of us want to find the shark a home somewhere. Probably not as close to the water to make someone else feel offended by it. Although if you watch TV, it's not offended by Shark Week. So anywhere else you can find that wall with entrance to our garage on 13th Street, there's a blank wall right there. So if you find the place that makes the shark appropriate in size and location, go for it.
Through the commission, I would think, is that the right process?
Yes, we can ask the commission to look for new locations for the
Just the
shark.
wall's all we need. A blank wall somewhere, we can be fit, appropriate, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Sounds good. We can do that.
Next up,
Sorry, this is a little slow. And next up is location 2, the Manhattan Beach Art Center. We have another proposal by Pamela Wall. She's responding to the size, or excuse me, the shape of the building and the time in which it was done. It's a 1950s building, so she's also responding to the John Van Hammersveld mural up at the top with these very geometric shapes and kind of this clean design that utilizes some color, and they're echoing the John Van Hammersveld piece up at the top. And she's also putting in these whimsical fish to kind of allude to the ocean and Manhattan Beach's location. Next, we have another one by Emily Tanaka. She's utilizing the 2 Manhattan Beach flowers, both the camellia and the desert primrose, and also tying it into the John Van Hammersveld piece above by literally taking the same shapes as are in his mural and very subtly superimposing them in the background. Next, we have Natalie Strong, who enjoys going to the beach and those childhood memories that I'm sure we all have of playing in the breakwater with this lovely piece. Natalie is one of our instructors, actually, just parenthetically. And last but not least, we have Mariana Desais with an under the pier view.
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, step back for a second, and then, let's see. Anyone hear public comment on this item on the Manhattan Beach Art Center wall? Seeing none in chambers, how about on Zoom, Martha?
There are no raised hands via Zoom. Oh, sorry, we have Heather Kim.
All right.
Yes, my vote would be for Emily Tanaka's or Natalie Strong art, but I will say that John Van Hammersveld mural on top is just really odd, and maybe discuss getting rid of that and making way for either a clean slate or something different there. It might make the other artists' murals look a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom?
Right. There's no additional raised hands.
Close public comment. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, you're up first.
Emily Tanaka.
You ready to go? I picked one.
Yep.
All right, Councilman Lesser?
Emily Tanaka, I like how she ties in the flowers with the existing art and different current space.
Councilmember Howorth?
I'll go with the Emily Tanaka. I want to suggest perhaps one of the flowers be a camellia.
Okay. Councilman Napolitano?
Yeah, one of the flowers is familiar. It's in the description.
I thought it had a chameleon, doesn't it?
It
has
does.
a chameleon.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, great. Oh, you're right. Right. It does. Thank you. I was looking more at the picture. Thanks.
Steve, your choice?
A chameleon by any other name. I agree with our caller, Heather. We should let the trees go from Hammersville, but it's there, and it was restored. So
Hey, Steve, your audio's messed up. Either lean closer to the microphone or step back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much better. There you go.
Okay. Unfortunately, you get to see me closer too. So
we're not looking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the caller, Heather, on the freeze. Mural by Hammersfeld, I was willing to let that go, but I was outvoted on that. But so it's there, and it was restored at a cost, so it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But of these proposals, I'm with Emily Tanaka.
All right.
Well done.
I'll go opposite. I like Miranda Salsa. I like that one. Can you show that Miranda Salsa again, Ellen, for me, please? I'm glad Hammersmith's not going anywhere. We paid to have it up there. Leave it alone. There you go. I think it's unusual. Someone else did a great picture of that looking under the pier. It's a great classic photo. That was unique. We never seen anywhere else in our city. That's the only place I've ever seen one do it. The way it tied in with the two black support posts, damn, just above it. That's why I like the way it went in there. But I'm not voted 4-1. So we'll do a voice call. Yes?
I was going to acknowledge your liking this and just, again, maybe have the Cultural Arts Commission see if there's any other walls where it could go.
Sure.
If there's consensus.
I think it's a good
Your Honor, I would actually suggest this would make a good utility box wrap. I do agree somewhat with one of our email writers that we don't need to repeat every image that we have in other places around the city. And this is, of course, iconic one, but I think a utility wrap or something, I don't know that we need to. We've seen tons of photos like this over the years.
Right.
I appreciate them, but I don't need to see a paint as well.
Got it. I'm cool with that. Wrap's fine. So you have a vote. You have at least 4 votes on the Tanaka piece for this one. Emily, you're good to go. What's your next one?
That is
Got
it. That is it. We have our
Ah, we
direction.
got through that quickly. Well done, by the way. Appreciate
Perfect.
that. Well done, you guys.
So just to confirm, we're not looking for a new spot for this piece, for the Marion Decize. We are considering it for a utility box
Correct.
instead. Perfect.
The shark is your only homework to do.
Perfect.
All right, you guys, appreciate that one.
Put it back in.
Somewhere we can jump over it. That would
Yes.
be really funny, actually.
No baby shark references either. Item
Baby
13,
shark,
quarterly update, the city's homelessness initiatives by our very own city manager, George Gabriel. George, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, Honorable Mayor Montgomery, members of the City Council, George Gabriel, Assistant to the City Manager. Periodically, we provide quarterly updates on the city's homeless initiatives, and I'll attempt to do so today. So some of this council has seen, so at the risk of being repetitive, I'm going to try to summarize as best I can quickly. And so obviously, the council is aware the city is playing an active role in addressing homelessness since 2018. Significant investments have been made. Staff time in terms of the homeless liaison, myself, the 2019 Measure H grant valued at $330,000, along with Redondo Beach and Hermosa Beach. The 2022 Measure H grant valued at $216,000. The Outreach Navigator at $139,000 over 2 separate contracts, or 1 contract and an additional amendment, and then the Share Housing Collaborative Program, which valued at $38,000. And so tonight we'll be discussing the Outreach Navigator contract specifically and potentially increasing that amount. So just over the years, how homelessness has progressed in Manhattan Beach. Obviously, 2018 kind of served as an inflection point when the city received our homeless count results, when our homeless count was indicated at 41. Since then, the amount has dropped off. Obviously, there's controversy over the method used for accounting for the homeless population. With that being said, this is the best available information that we've been able to utilize up to this point. So as you could tell, it's going from 41 to 20 to 21 to 15. 2022, or in 2022, it amounted to 9 people. And then just recently, using an adjusted number, the unofficial homeless count of data based on the number of individuals that were counted was 9 as well. So somewhat stabilized. And so I should mention that the 2023 homeless count, the individual city data was not released by LASA after concerns about the accuracy of the data and extrapolating data on such a small scale to the city level. So moving beyond that, here are our outreach statistics. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a outreach, or we have a Measure H grant with the other beach cities, and that includes Hermosa, El Segundo, and Redondo for $216,000. This work right here reflects that Measure H grant. Over 1,000 outreach interactions, 356 participants served, and I want to stress this is over the beach. This is over all the beach cities. Certainly not just Manhattan Beach. The next slide I'll go over Manhattan Beach, but there's been success that's been attained there, especially as it relates to stable housing placements. So, outreach statistics in Manhattan Beach. So, we have about 2 years worth of data, or actually we have more than that, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'll be going over just Manhattan Beach from January of this year to October of this year. And so we had 375 outreach interactions, and that could be duplicated individuals. 83 participants served, so these are unique individuals. 19 interim housing referrals obtained, and 10 stable housing placements. And so I know that City Council often asks, what about share? What's amounting the share? And so I've kind of highlighted that. Within the 19 interim housing referrals obtained, the share contract can account for 14 of those. So that's quite successful, and obviously it's a tool for us in order to utilize for individuals that are, accepting of services and individuals who can abide by certain norms and rules that are placed on the landlord of that unit. With that being said, now we have about a year and a half to 2 years worth of data of the Share Collaborative Housing Program. So since the beginning of the program, we've housed about 21 unique individuals, 14 just this year. Questions have been raised as to, all right, what's been the result of this? And on a percentage basis of those 21, about 33%, sorry, let me get my numbers correctly here, because I don't want to miss on this. So there's 3 typical exits you'll see of a person that moves on from the Share Collaborative Housing System. One is they go to interim housing. So Share is typically referred to as an interim housing, but they go to a different one, let's say. Another one is exit to a permanent housing. So that's more something with like an annual lease or annual rent. As well as the other exit, which is the unfortunate one, is exiting back to the streets. And so based off of those 21 housing placements that we've made, we've seen 19% exit to interim housing, 50% exit into stable housing, and another 33% exit to the streets. So while we can certainly attribute some success or great success to the program, there are unfortunate outcomes where an individual exits back into the streets, which is not ideal, but it's an unfortunate circumstance. And we achieve success, but obviously some of that success doesn't follow through all the way. So for tonight's discussion, I'd like to discuss the contract amendment. So the council is aware that we do have an outreach worker that provides ongoing case management and housing navigation services. Her name is Myra, and she's obviously been a great help to the city in providing some quick outreach resources and conducts regular outreach. And, I myself with the police department, we meet on a weekly basis to go over what's occurring, what she's observing in the city, and homeless individuals that could be of assistance to her or to them. And so we're proposing to revise the contract with an amendment, and so it extends it for 1 additional year to 2024, increases the maximum compensation by $80,000, and so the total contract value would be at $219,219. So this is a net increase of $80,000. And then we're also increasing the reimbursable expenses from $6,000 to $10,000. And that's particularly relevant because one thing we're finding is that we have a lot of reimbursable, or we have a lot of expense that relates to rides to appointments, via using rideshare services, mileage reimbursements for the outreach navigator, as well as other miscellaneous expenses that can be incurred. So we're replacing the scope of services and replacing the fee schedule in accordance with that agreement as well. So where are we at with grant funds? So the title is slightly misleading because we're also going to talk about general fund dollars. And so through both of these grant funds, we've been awarded $546,000 and we've expended about $424,000. So these funds, the remaining amount of funds, should last us until June 2024, where in the coming months we're going to be discussing with Ronson, who is here tonight, about what the newest round of grant funds would entail and how we can continue to utilize those grant funds to supplement homeless services, not only in Manhattan Beach, but in the Beach Cities region. So general fund dollars, and so this is what has a real impact onto city staff, or not city staff, but has a real impact in terms of the city and their expenditures. So in terms of real dollars that we've expended, or city council's appropriated 177, we've expended $139,000 of those dollars. And so obviously there's remaining amount on the outreach navigator contract, and we're going to continue to expand upon that. So we launched an app in recent, I think within the past year. And so since the fall of 2022, we've actually received 292 outreach requests. I personally go over every single outreach request and follow up with either our police department personnel or our outreach navigator to understand what occurred in this scenario. Was case management offered? Was the individual there? There's a variety of scenarios that can be offered, that can occur. Was enforcement an option? Was it not an option? Whatever it may be, those issues are discussed when I'm going over each individual case. So homeless court. City Council directed staff to add a work plan item aimed at creating a homeless court diversion program. As you're aware, the city recently amended the agreement with Richards, Watson, Gershon to add prosecution services. Homeless court could potentially be interplayed within those prosecution services, where the time will tell as to how we will utilize those services appropriately. Oops. And in the coming months, so staff was going to work with the city attorney and the new city prosecutor to explore options on how we can mirror those services in informal pre-court filing format. So Care Court. The city supported the Care Court. It was sponsored by the governor, I believe last year or the year before. It was recently announced that on December 1, Los Angeles County will implement the CARE Act. So basically Care Court is starting all across the county region. So qualifying individuals or entities can petition the Superior Court to connect eligible individuals for the services associated with Care Court. That being said, staff has done a preliminary review of those, of what would make an individual eligible and qualify. It's a little bit of a high bar, but we're going to work through that. Staff is going to work with the outreach case navigator as well as the police department to review who may qualify for a petition and see how the city can utilize those services as best as possible. So future of Measure H. I want to preface this by saying that we have Measure H that's currently ongoing right now. It's a quarter-cent sales tax that was implemented in 2017. There was a 10-year term on that, and so the Measure H is expected to end 2027. In anticipation of that expiration, LA County and local nonprofits, United Way and I believe Path Forward, have discussed how to continue this funding. And so there's been various iterations that have gone and have, how should I say, have leaked into the public eye. Nothing is official yet. I believe a initiative ballot measure has been submitted to the county registrar, but it hasn't been posted on their website yet. With that being said, the city has seen a draft of that. I believe the COG has as well. The COG raised concerns in an October 30th letter. The city is unaware of the direct impacts that we may be felt with this new round of Measure H funding on an ongoing basis, but we'll certainly be on the lookout for it. And once the ballot measure becomes official, then I suspect that maybe council would like to weigh in on that as with a support, oppose, or no position at all. So, future of the homeless count. There is a homeless count that's scheduled for Wednesday, January 2024 in 2024. It's unclear right now whether the city level results will be released. As I indicated earlier, they did not release them for 2023. We're not expecting them for 2024 as well. With that being said, some of the homeless count data is valuable because it gives us a benchmark to judge whether our homeless initiative efforts are successful or potentially unsuccessful at times. So the COG is actually exploring contracting with the City of Redondo Beach's contractor, CityNet is what the contractor is called, and they do a demographic census survey on the local homeless population. And I actually included that in the staff report as an attachment, and it's quite fascinating. It's a really interesting document because it goes through all related information. Personnel from CityNet go on a one basis with every homeless individual, and they get background information to understand what's the root of their homelessness, how long have they been homeless, what demographics they represent, how long they've been in Redondo Beach, are they a Redondo Beach resident, all sorts of questions, and it's quite fascinating and detailed information. So we're hoping that the COG will be able to utilize that for the region, and the city of Manhattan Beach may benefit from that. So, with all that being said, staff recommends that the City Council receive the report detailing the various reports and initiatives that are going on, as well as adopt the resolution approving Amendment Number 2 to the agreement with Harbor Interfaith Services, extending the term for an additional year, increasing the maximum compensation for budgeted housing, navigation, and case management services. Thank you.
Take a breath, George. Well done. You guys have done a fantastic job today. That's why I quote you wherever I go across the country. So 2 things talking about. The second round of grant funding, round 2, is $114K less than it was last time. Now, remember, during all this time, the county's getting a half-cent sales tax. They're still collecting it. Why did we get less when we see more advantage while we're doing a good job and not more when we should have gotten a higher number, what we should have had last time? Why'd they cut us $114K?
Yeah. So it was a competitive grant opportunity. What I will say is that we asked for 4 outreach workers and we got 2. And so in the initial grant, I believe that funded 3 outreach workers in total. And so I think they lowered the amount to account for 2 outreach workers total in the grant. But obviously it's a competitive grant opportunity. It's various cities have a lot of competing initiatives, you know, their own outreach workers as well as housing as well. And so we're advocating, and hopefully I can have a couple conversations with Ronson to kind of increase that amount.
So the county controls the disbursement, right?
The county has a set amount they're dispersed to the COGS, and the COGS award the specific amount to the cities.
So do we know how much of the Measure H money is still outstanding with the county? Unspent, unallocated from the county? Hundreds of millions of dollars last time I heard. I don't know what the number is.
I don't have that information.
Okay.
Right
So
now.
I'm going to have to write our supervisor and tell her, disappointed, if they're talking about homelessness, they want to cure it, that they cut money from us. That's option 1. That's comment 1. Comment 2, the family issue heard about before. How do you address the families, if there are any, in Manhattan Beach, that are seen here and counted here in January 2024? How do we handle families if they are reported in our city?
So this is a very complicated issue, and I share the concerns that were promulgated by people that submitted public comment. Harbor Interfaith Services is our homeless service provider in the region. They have a family coordination individual that is responsible for case management. There's been concerns associated with responsiveness and we're working to address that with Harbor Interfaith Services. With that being said, our current outreach worker does assist with family outreach. However, that level of services is somewhat limited by virtue of the type of programs that she can access. And so the requirement of any Harbor Interfaith Service worker that is focused on homeless outreach for individuals, they have to refer them to the family coordinator at Harbor Interfaith Services. That being said, it doesn't stop our homeless outreach worker from assisting. Our homeless outreach worker has assisted with benefits enrollment, has assisted with working with the COG on locating housing for the individual, has located or is actually assisted as well with being a liaison with the workforce or the occupation that the individual may have. The other thing that complicates family outreach is that it requires more individuals in order to execute successfully, and there's more of an urgency because oftentimes these are kids that you're referring to with these families. And so when you see a child that's experiencing homelessness, it obviously causes a great deal of urgency in a situation that often requires patience, which is really unfortunate, and we're trying to do our best to respond to it appropriately. The COG has been very helpful with responding to one specific case, and we're actually hoping that one family that our outreach worker has been assisting with will be placed into a stable housing placement. They have an application that's pending right now. So there's stuff that we are able to accomplish, but because of the dynamics of family outreach, the urgency, and the paperwork that's required of family outreach, it makes it a little bit more problematic. But we're certainly going to work with Harbor Interfaith Services to try to execute that on a more expeditious basis.
So if a family, my last question. So if a family is encountered in Manhattan Beach and we find they're homeless, we do not turn our backs on them.
No.
Nor does a navigator.
No.
And I make sure the public understands that.
Yeah.
Although it sounds like we're talking individuals, if a family's encountered, we do find them aid.
Yeah. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that MB Safe has been a steadfast resource to assist families as well. And so they've been very helpful to us in addressing families and individuals as well, but especially families given the urgency that's required.
Appreciate that. Councilmember Lesser?
George, thank you for your comprehensive report and your ability to really drill down on individual issues related to our interrelated approach towards addressing homelessness in our community. I also wanted to acknowledge the South Bay City's Council of Governments and its program director, Ronald Chu, who's here, because this is obviously a regional problem, and we're grateful for the COG in supplementing what we do here in our city by applying for regional grants and applying them here. Question for you. You and I have had an exchange trying to better understand how grants help the specific item before us tonight, which is this amendment. There's a request for additional funds for the additional year, and I'm just trying to understand how grant monies offset that additional cost.
Yeah. So the contract amendments before you tonight is not grant funded. This comes out of the general fund. The Beach Cities agreement with Harbor Interfaith Services, that it comes from grant funding that has been awarded, that $216,000 amount. That is reimbursed to the city. So the city expends the funds. We showcase that expenditure to the COG, and the COG reimburses the amount to the city on an ongoing basis. And so we don't, for those services that are for the region, we do not expend general fund dollars. That's all grant funded.
Great.
For services just for Manhattan Beach, that comes out of our general fund.
Thank you. Helpful. With regard to the public comments and your exchange with the mayor, I wanted to follow up on with regard to families. What is the data showing with regard to the number of families we're seeing? Obviously, we have this number in the count of 9, but are we seeing families at this stage?
So based off the estimation from our outreach navigator, our outreach navigator has assisted 3 different families in recent months. It's a little, I will say that it's a little bit unique. You know, we haven't traditionally seen a lot of families, homeless families in Manhattan Beach, so it's a little bit unique. I can't tell right now whether this is going to be an ongoing trend or if this is kind of a blip in the radar. But as of right now, it's something that we have seen And there are some concerns with it, but we're working to address those.
And also, just again to confirm, with this current agreement, we have the capacity to work with families, correct, through this contract?
Yes, we have the capacity, correct.
Thank you. Finally, I just wanted to pick up briefly on the homelessness court proposal that staff proposes to work on with the new city prosecutor. I'm just wondering if you can provide any more information at this preliminary date. Is that something which the city attorney can speak on, or maybe you can speak on, just generally what we can tell the public that we're working on, because this has been a big issue in our community over a number of years.
Yeah, it's definitely the preliminary stages, but as I think everyone knows, and certainly the council knows, we tried to we're ready to enter into a contract with Redondo Beach so that we could utilize their homeless court. That was step one, but then we had to seek permission to have Redondo Beach prosecute our misdemeanors. That was not given. Step two, the county was talking about having some court. And so what we're looking at now, what we're exploring is setting up basically internally the same type of process.
Would we need permission from the LA County District Attorney's Office to set it up?
No, but it's more of a, well, the answer is no.
This will come back to council, obviously, but this helps a little bit to give a little bit more scope to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Howorth.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. George, I wanted to just clarify something with care court, because I hear people bandying that term about, and I think, at least when it was originally approved by Governor Newsom, it's a little more specific in that it is, if you are a family member or if you have a family member who is over the age of 18, who, whether it's through substance abuse or, mental health, experiencing, homelessness, you can actually go to the court to petition for them to receive services. And I think that's what it is, because in the past, you could not take care of your own family member if they're over the age of 18 because they have autonomy, et cetera. But this is for those kinds of cases. Is that correct?
Yes, family members can petition the court. Organizations, I believe, such as cities, can also petition the court as well.
So it could be that, but it's so that's okay. So that's interesting. And the difference between care court and the CARE Act.
The CARE court is basically the result of the CARE Act.
Okay, that's all I wanted to confirm. But yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilman Napolitano.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess I am at a loss here about the focus of this, because in reading the staff report, I have yet to find any justification or explanation for the increase in compensation by $80,200 or increased reimbursable expenses to $10,000. This is a contract that was $140,000, and this is a more than 50% increase in that contract amount, plus more reimbursable expenses. So why is this?
Councilmember Napolitano, the first contract that the city council approved was, I believe, for I think it was $68,000. The second contract was for 70. In the low 70s. I have to research that specifically. This contract is for $80,000. So there is an increase. You are correct. That increase is related to an increased salary for that outreach navigator to reflect.
Wait a minute. Just to be clear, it's $80,000 for a new maximum compensation of $219,000. That's not a $60,000 contract we're talking about, or a $75,000 contract. And if I scroll up, it says the contract was $139,020 with Harbor Interfaith. And now it's $80,000 on top of that to reach $219,219. Why are we having this more than 50% increase?
I have to
What
look at
value are we getting out of it?
I'd have to look at the percentage increases on a contract basis. I don't have that number before me, Councilmember Napolitano, but I will say that the salary.
It's on page 3 and 4 of the report, though.
So we're going from the amendment number 1 was a contract in the amount of $70,000. Or for original contract, I'm sorry. The original agreement was about $70,000. The first amendment was for a total contract value of $139,000. And this amendment that's proposed is for $219,000. So we're talking about a net increase of $80,000 with this contract.
And my point is, that's a lot of money. Why? What are we getting for that additional $80,000, which was a more than 50% increase?
We're raising the salary of the outreach worker from $48,000 to $52,000. That's just pure salary, and then we're increasing the reimbursable expenses from $6,000 to $10,000. So with those coupled increases, it would reflect about $8,000 in total, and that $8,000 you can attribute to the increase of $72,000 on a individual contract basis to $80,000 on an individual contract basis as proposed.
Oh.
That is not how it reads in the staff report. It says increases the maximum compensation by $80,000.
Yeah, right. Then 219.
Is it the revised scope of work that includes other services? I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, for interrupting, but maybe that's why.
Well, great. And if there are additional services, I want to know what those services are. I want to know what we're getting for our money.
He's talking to Bruce right now, Steve. We'll get back up to second here to explain it.
So,
go ahead, George. You're ready.
So the $219,000, I just want to point out, that's the total contract value. So that's value that we've already accumulated, all right, from prior contracts. All right. In terms of what we're getting from this current contract, obviously you're seeing it as a result of the outreach statistics that we're getting. Stable housing placements, the regular homeless interactions that is occurring, as well as the interim and stable housing placements that the outreach navigator is making. And that's the value of the contract.
But you just said it's a $10,000 increase to her compensation, correct?
No, expenses. So the reimbursable expenses is going from, so let's look at that amendment number 2.
I know that. I'm saying you just said her pay is going up from $49,000 to like $59,000 or something.
No.
$45,000 to $55,000. That's a $10,000 compensation increase, not the reimbursable expenses.
Huh.
So if that's a $10,000 bump in her pay, where's the $70,000 of additional money?
Her salary is, we're going from $48,000 to $52,000. That's a $4,000 net increase in salary. The reimbursable expenses is going from $6,000 to $10,000. That's another $4,000 net increase. Total for a difference of $8,000 in net increase from the prior contract to this current contract.
Okay, but it says $80,000. What am I not understanding? It says it increased the maximum compensation by $80,000. That's on page 4 of 7 of the staff report.
Is there a typo?
What am I not getting? Is there a typo?
That's what I'm saying. Is it by or to?
We're looking to see, Steve, well, they'll make sure it's not a typo.
Yeah.
Good call. Catch.
How come no one's seeing what I'm saying?
80,000 is the net increase.
He's going to explain it here in a second.
Our best minds on
Councilman Napolitano, I want to stress this is for an additional year of services. We're extending the contract for an additional year. So 80,000 is another year's worth of services that will be until December of 2024.
If
that's helpful or not.
Wait.
Okay.
Everybody wait. Let Steve respond back to George. We'll move along one at a time.
No, forget it. This needs to be traced better because as I'm reading this, yes, it's $80,000 for another year, but it's $8,000 on top of $139,000 for a total of $219,000, correct? Or are you saying it's a total maximum compensation for all the years that Harbor Interfaith has been working?
Correct.
The latter.
Well, that's not what it says there, so you really need to clean this up. Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, good point. Mayor Pro Tem Franklin, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, George. So, going back to your presentation, slide 4, do you know for the Beach Cities region, how many beds total are available for housing homeless individuals, interim, like share? And so I assume that's Redondo Beach with the tiny houses and the like? I'm just trying to get an idea of overall in the
Within the beach cities?
Beach Cities region, right?
Yeah. So, Ronson, if I can invite you up on this one, because I know Ronson has been tracking the number of beds that are available in the region. What I can say anecdotally is that the city of Redondo Beach has pallet shelters. I believe they have 20, and they're trying to increase that amount to potentially 40. The city of Hermosa Beach also utilizes the share housing agreement with the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. And the city of El Segundo can utilize share housing as well. The city of Manhattan Beach has up to 5 beds that are allotted via the share contract. I don't think that allotment is reflected for other cities, but I can allow Ronson to expand upon that.
And how many in El Segundo then?
There's no definitive amount in El Segundo, but they're able to access the share contract when needed.
Well, now, but before, so, because this was January 2022 to September 2023. I don't think you had the COG.
Yeah, some of those housing placements aren't all reflective of share. You know, there are placements that are made that are irrespective of share into, let's say, a shelter within the South Bay region.
Okay, because I was just trying to get an idea of the 4 cities, what share of, Manhattan Beach had of housing people and placed, so we had, 10 was the number of stable housing placements. But, so, South Bay City region, there was 35, so we did about 1/3 of those.
Well, so I wouldn't look at those as a share, because those agreements, those outreach statistics are done by specific case managers. And so there's no overlap necessarily between
All
them.
right. Good. Got it. Okay. I had some of the same questions as Councilmember Napolitano, but I think we kind of worked our way through that. So Myra will be getting a raise then?
Correct. The contract will authorize our beneficiary services with providing a raise.
Okay, great, thank you. So we've had 292 outreach requests submitted since the fall of 2022 on the Reach Manhattan Beach app. Do we know, can you sort of get an idea of how many times that individual was visited, actually spoken to? Got information?
Yeah.
Tried to?
Anecdotally, I think it depends on the homeless individual. Oftentimes, these individuals, obviously, they are transients, or they have a transient nature, and so they move along the beach cities. An effort will be made in order to conduct outreach or case management. Oftentimes, when an officer or the case manager is able to make contact, the individual may not be there, and so it's difficult to say how many interactions are per outreach request.
Okay, so of the 375, going back on page 5, the 375 number of outreach interactions, are we saying that 292 of those are from the Reach the Beach app?
I don't know if it's 292, but you can say there's certainly overlap in those numbers.
Okay, because
Yes.
somebody can also call the non-emergency line,
Correct.
or even the emergency line.
Correct.
If they think they're in distress, okay. The CARE Act, have we been given any specific guidelines as a Los Angeles County city?
Yeah.
Is it, so it's run by the Superior Court, or is it Los Angeles County?
Yeah.
Superior Court,
Yeah,
okay.
so we haven't received direct guidance. They haven't reached out to us. We actually heard about developments on this from our League of California Cities rep, which the council is aware of, Jeff Kiernan. He made us aware of that care court was set to begin on December 1st. And so in visiting their website, they have the petitions documents ready. They have some guidance to cities in order for individuals that may be eligible or qualify. And so we have some initial guidance.
And is it going to be, are there going to be courts all over the county, or just one or two, or?
That remains to be seen. Yeah, I think as of right now, they're gonna direct the South Bay to the Torrance Courthouse.
Okay, and do we, so we're responsible for getting that individual over there? And is this compel that person to enter either the, I don't know what you want to call it, the CARE Act program or the CARE Act process? Does it compel to, like we invoke, just, it's not the same, I know, but like a 5150, we can actually take him to the hospital.
You know, because the program is in its infancy, I can't say for certain, because I have seen conflicting news media reports that some individuals say that this continues to be a voluntary program, but I also seen language from the governor's office that says that there can be mandates within and court orders that are associated with this. So that remains to be seen in how the program is effectively utilized.
Because it's essentially, from what I understand from reading about it and waiting for it, it's in place of like a family member committing that individual to a court mandated process.
Yes. Yes, it could be.
And in fact becomes a family or
yes,
a family member. Okay.
It could be potentially.
Yeah, and we were promised a homeless court by LA County. I believe that was going to be near the airport years ago, and it never came about. So thank you for working with the city attorney to kind of duplicate that. Maybe City Attorney Barrow. So part of the, so as we all know, the principal purpose of the homeless court is to remediate that individual, to expunge records, to get them driver's license and things like that. Is there a basket of services that your firm might be able to represent to get them there? So some of them, I know expungement means usually you go to the homeless court and the judge is right there and will expunge the record based upon certain things the individual does. But can we help them get their driver's license? Because we need to make them ready to be able to go into sustainable housing.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would be the capacity of Richards Watson. I think that's more of the navigator and the other assistance provided. I mean, I think most of us went to Redondo to observe. Mm-hmm. But of course, they had a Torrance judge there.
Right.
And they're a charter city.
But those service providers that were along the edge, along the fence, would we be able to tap into those even not through a homeless group?
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, we're really at the preliminary stages. That's what we want. We're trying to figure out a way to do this in a efficient way. So those are certainly some of the questions that we've raised and we'll be trying to find answers to.
Because that was the most encouraging part of seeing the homeless court. The CityNet, the work that they've done, the demographic data and the personal data, from the individuals was really eye-opening for me in terms of what the city of Redondo Beach has. And thank you for providing that information. It's really telling you the profile of where, I mean, now we just are guessing, right? We're thinking, well, maybe some of them were Manhattan Beach residents, some of them weren't, some of them were from here, some of them were from there, the ages and everything. I mean, it really, we would really love to see that kind of information drill down, because with that information, we can tailor the services. And those that we can't provide, you mentioned MB Safe, they've been a force multiplier for us, in helping with our homeless situation. So I would really encourage us to do all we can to get that data, to get CityNet as a partner. I have a lot more confidence in that than I do in the annual counts.
Just
where,
pay them. Just pay them.
Yeah,
No amount of money.
Yeah. I don't know if
Make
we
a
can
motion at the very end, Joe. Pay them.
Yeah. Okay.
Pay for it, you'll get it.
Do we, we don't know what they cost, right?
I believe Redondo paid about Bronson $30,000 for their
$30,000?
demographic survey.
Well, maybe we could be half of that. Okay, well, that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Stand by. Councilor Lesser.
I wanted to return to some of the confusion that was expressed by Councilmember Napolitano, which I shared in looking at the staff report the first time. And George, just ask, could you pull up a copy, or do you have access to a copy of the amendment number 2? And in particular, section number 2 references this number of compensation of $219,219.88 and increase the maximum amount of consultants' reimbursement expenses to $10,000. But then when you look at Exhibit B, it breaks down the salary to just a monthly fee of $5,850. And then it also references this reimbursement of not to exceed $10,000. And I'm just trying to better understand how those numbers coordinate, because that's where I think the staff report is a little bit confusing, particularly in its wording, as to capturing what exactly Exhibit B provides, which is which is the revised approved fee schedule, correct?
Yes. So let me pull up your exact reference. So within Amendment 2, and you said Exhibit B?
It's Exhibit B, it's on page 421 of the council packet. And then on the agreement itself, the amendment number 2 is on page 415, and that would be section 2. So I'm trying to better understand the alignment between these numbers, which is what I think Councilmember Napolitano may be responding to.
So within Exhibit B, which is the revised approved fee schedule,
right?
That addresses what the monthly salary is, as well as the annual reimbursable costs.
Correct.
The city's net, this is the city's net expenditure. And so if you calculate these figures out on an annual basis, this amounts to the $80,000 that is referenced as the increase in compensation. And so I'm sorry if I was being unclear with respect to the staff report. And so I want to articulate that $219,000 is the total contract value. And so that includes year 1 of services, year 2, and now we're going on to year 3. $80,000 reflects a third year of services.
Right.
Sorry. $80,000 reflects an additional year of services. And so that's why it's saying we're attempting to increase maximum compensation to allow for an additional year.
Thank you. That's what I thought, and that's what I had seen when I reviewed the contract. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Anyone else, any questions up here? Step back, George, for a second. Public comment. Anybody wants to talk about this item?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Ronson Chu from the South Bay City Council of Governments.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you, George, for the report. And wonderful questions, by the way, very incisive. Wanted to address a couple of them. If you were in unincorporated Delaware right now, if you're a family and you called the system for help, you would be turned away. You would be put on a waiting list because the family system in LA County is maxed out. There's a 200 family waiting list just in the South Bay alone. So the great thing is Manhattan Beach has stepped up and provided an outreach worker to help with its families, or else it would just be funneled into the system, which is currently backed up. To Councilmember Lesser's questions, we are seeing an increase in number of families in the South Bay region as a whole. We've helped students in MB Unified as well as even educators in Manhattan Beach. That's happened once. So it's not just the kids. There's a lot of families that are struggling. We're also seeing a lot of seniors that are struggling as well. A lot of seniors, there's kind of this misnomer that, everyone in Manhattan Beach is well off, but there's a lot of people that are kind of, they've had their homes for 30, 40, 50 years. But there's also a lot of renters, a lot of seniors using Social Security to rent, and they're getting kind of priced out of the rental markets. And so we're seeing a lot of that as well. So we continue to find ways to supplement the services being provided by Manhattan Beach. We've taken over the share contract, as you know. We also are launching a time-limited subsidy program to help families and individuals either prevent homelessness or try and get them into housing. And we're also providing other types of wraparound support through our client aid funds as well. On the questions of CityNet, the census, we are looking into it. What we're trying to do is get pricing for the region. We have a number of cities interested.
It's all right, Ron, continue. Go ahead.
Okay, and then I'll just close by just saying on the care courts, when I was briefed a couple months ago, the care court is going to be in Whittier. It has to be a specific court that has the mental health services wrapped around it, and so it's in Whittier, which is very far away from here. But they will have some remote access, and it is to compel people to undertake services. It stops short of conservatorship, and so the idea is that the courts can further compel people to get services that they need.
Hey, Ron, stand by for a second. I want to make sure I answered this correctly. You work for the COG, right?
Yes.
So the COG determined the money coming from the county to each city.
Yes.
Based on what formula they're using, why did our numbers decrease from, if the homelessness issue is so serious in every city, why did we get cut back from where we started from in funding?
Couple of reasons. One is you were at the detriment of your own proactivity. So on the first
year, if
year,
you're good at it, you miss the number, you get cut.
Well, it wasn't just that, because the first year that we asked for funding, only a certain amount of cities raised their hands. You were one of them. The second year we asked for funding, more cities raised their hands. So we had slightly bigger pie, but more to share. And so that was primary reasons. The good news is we are increasing our funding every year. With new Measure H, hopefully we'll double that amount. That's where
New Measure H expires in 4 years from now.
2027.
Right.
And then this new measure would actually replace it effective immediately.
Oh, really?
If it's voted in. And it would repeal the old measure.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we pay more and get less until 27, then we get more money back.
Well, the other answer to that question is it's also what you're funding too. So when we proposed for outreach workers to the county, they kind of they didn't want to keep funding all this outreach work. So we're finding other ways to supplement the services that we are funding. For example, the time-limited subsidies, the client aid, we're paying security deposits for folks. One thing that we are doing to answer Councilmember Franklin's question on shelters, we are increasing bed size by using motels to get people and families into shelter in a way. And so we have funds to put people into motels using the Measure H money. So the Measure H money is used in different ways, not necessarily to just fund the outreach workers. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Now, my frustration isn't with you or the COG. The frustration is that, A, we received less money. The county's got a ton of Measure H money sitting there, sitting on top of a ton of it. So it's hard to me to understand as a taxpayer that I'm paying more for less. So that's a bigger issue down the line. But it's like, that's an issue I have. When the county comes back for an increased Measure H program, you've done a terrible job of managing the money you have, you, the county. Why would the hell would I support you for another Measure H when you can't even do what we're doing now? So that's an argument I have with supervisors, not with you. But my frustration is commonplace among all of us that are paying for it. We see less. So if you're too good at what you do, you get less, kind of like our schools. Better you do, less money you get. But I sidetracked for a second. Do you have a question for Ronson?
I was just going to say, though, if I understand what you're saying correctly, is that more of the communities in our COG are trying to get part of that grant money. So, and the homelessness is it's an issue. So, we may be getting less, but perhaps El Segundo or Hawthorne is getting some more, and that's helping families too, so then they may not end up here. So I think I hear what you're saying. I don't know about the county saying, maybe they're saying on millions of dollars.
$330 million.
But this money that we apply for, the grant money, it's going to our region. It's not just going away.
Right. Well, the fact that it's sitting on $300 million means it's not going anywhere. So
Different
thank
thing.
you. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
I'm a hard no on increasing that measure. You've never heard that before. Anybody else? Public comment, Martha?
Heather Kim.
Okay.
What?
Heather's not
I'm
accepting
here,
the.
hello? Hello, I'm here, hello? Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, about the homeless, okay. I think the issue now is that there are families who are homeless in Manhattan Beach, including pregnant women and even kids. That means there's a change in the demographic, which I don't think is covered by the current service agreement. I know there are families because we have been asked to provide donations for kids and mothers. Also, there's an issue of encampment that MBPD must enforce because there have been eyewitness reports on social media about people sleeping overnight by the library, and the police are called, yet it doesn't seem like they're actually enforcing it. Enforcement, as you know, is not the mission of MB Safe. That is solely the job of MBPD. It's always the same, few people who resist services and have been outreached. Police know who they are, but they continue to sleep around the beach, around the library, by the pier, by Pollywog. And so anyways, as to issue about families, they're obviously more invisible because they sleep in their cars versus sleeping outside in public spaces. But anyways, that is a trend that it looks like it is happening right now. So I appreciate Councilman Napolitano's what is it called? Questions about the money issue. I wasn't understanding the math either, so I hope there is a lot more clarification about that soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker?
There's no additional requests via Zoom.
Okay. Close public comment. George, you want to answer her last comment there about reports we've heard about families that we're not addressing them properly, and the calls for service to PD, what they have done or had not done?
I can reiterate that families can be outreached to utilizing our current outreach navigator. Obviously, the level of outreach can differ depending on the case manager that's present. Obviously, Harbor Interfaith Services Specialized Family Coordinator can probably be a little bit more helpful, but with immediate assistance, our case manager can provide it. It's provided assistance with trips to the DMV, obtaining identification, submitting rental applications, so on and so forth. So we have assisted and will continue to assist.
So no family that we're aware of is being turned away or ignored?
Not ignored, no.
Okay. And the second comment that she made about the PD and anyone sleeping, I don't know what time frame that could be, at our parks, whatever. Do you want to do a general comment that how our PD does?
Generally speaking, I would say that our PD receives multiple calls for service, and they respond to each of those calls for service, and they respond appropriately and as necessary.
I would agree. Thank you very much. Council, comments? This is a report, but we have to adopt Resolution 230155, so we need someone to make a motion.
So moved.
So Councilman Lesser makes a motion to receive the report. You also want to adopt Resolution 23-0155?
I do. I want to, though, do so in acknowledgement of just some confusion in the language. I understand why Councilmember Napolitano did raise the questions he did, but I do so move.
Thank you.
So could I make a friendly amendment to that?
Sure.
With
Or let's hear what
regards
the menu
to
is.
the CityNet services, is that the city, is that we go ahead and ask CityNet to provide, pay, or get a quote from CityNet to provide a citywide homeless count, to provide accurate and detailed data on our homeless population, which
First, if I might,
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think that is a proposal for the COG, is it not? As opposed for the city, that's the first issue. And second, I think I'd want a fuller staff report on that, because we have a relatively smaller number compared to Redondo Beach. And not that it wouldn't be worthy, but I'd want to better understand what the expense is and whether it's really warranted
Yeah.
another night. Is that all right?
So it didn't seem to me like the COG has already agreed to pay for that.
The COG is exploring a regional contract where they would utilize services. That, I don't want to speak for Ronson, he's exploring it at this current stage. You want to give a more firm commitment?
Yeah, we have a number of cities definitely interested that want to do the city net count. So we asked for some patience as we kind of sort through the costs and logistics of it. We've given the square mileage of Manhattan Beach, for example, topographical challenges of doing a count in Manhattan Beach. So we're getting that detail back, and we can definitely provide a staff report to George as well to present to the Manhattan Beach Council at a later time.
Is it 6 months away, 8 months away?
They're currently working on the numbers as we speak. I was actually hoping that I would get them this week, but I haven't yet. So it's imminent in terms of getting the report and the costs done. Yeah.
Okay, well then I would just, thank you. Then I would just say that however it happens through them, through the COG, we should explore it ourselves if that doesn't look like it's going to happen. I think it should be on the top of the list of things we need. I mean, just looking through the data that they had here, that could really help us with tailoring our approach, our solutions, our services, things like that.
Is that a friendly amendment you want to ask him to include in yours? You should make a separate comment.
I guess the friendly amendment would be to, continue to pursue information about working with CityNet to get
Through
their
the
services.
COG.
Through the COG, and failing
Sure.
that.
Accept it.
Directly.
So you have a first by Councilmember Lesser.
I will.
And a second, Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. And I just close with the comments that even though people are focusing on these numbers, George talked about the fact that we have 2023 unofficial count. Remember, that's applied to the formula used here in Des Moines, New York, Dallas. They add a number to whatever they actually find, 0.5, 0.1, whatever it's going to be. That number includes a formula that's used all across the government, HUD. So that number 9 could actually be 3. Wait and see what next year shows. With that, I'm sorry. Another question, Joe? Your voice, your name's still there.
I just wanted to continue on a comment. We see the
Can I jump in sometime?
Oh, yeah, I didn't see your hand raised there.
Oh, go
I
ahead,
was going
Steve.
around.
Go ahead.
Steve.
No, I'll be a reluctant yes on this, but I said, I've heard, do our own counts in this. We're not our own county.
Yeah.
And I'm really going to caution against spending a whole lot more money on this. We want to address the issue to the best of our ability. We've contained it. We address it when it happens, but at the same time, this homeless industrial complex, at a certain point, we have gone way beyond what is justified by the numbers that we have. Of course, we want to prevent any addition to that we have, and this helps in that way, but at a certain point, we're spending a whole lot more money than is justified by our numbers. And I'm fine with this, continue on, but I'm not going to be in favor of spending $50,000 for our own count or anything that much. We can do that and rely on the numbers that others provide just fine. Having more numbers doesn't change what we're going to do. Having a different number that CityNet's providing isn't going to change what we do. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, and so the point I wanted to make, we see it's a fluid situation. We saw when Bologna Creek was cleared out, we saw an increase in RV and other vans and people that came, from that location. When we see, I think we refer to it as a balloon. When pressure gets pushed over here, it gets bigger over here. And so you have people throughout Los Angeles County that have just had enough of this. And we're going to, so I don't think we can really rely on a number like 9. I think it changes. Different events. Look, I mean, look what happened up in San Francisco. Where did those homeless go in San Francisco when they cleaned it up for a visit from the Chinese premier? They went somewhere. In our own here, when they cleaned it up for the, what was the major event? Down where they cleared out the people by the airport. But you see that, it ebbs and it flows, and we can see the homeless population increase. And they all have these needs, and we do a fantastic job of addressing those needs and of talking to those individuals and getting them into services. So that's why I wanted to get a more accurate count so that we could go ahead and figure out what can we do to address this, ongoing and pervasive problem. So, thank you.
Hey, great question. George, do we have any proof that Bologna Creek, people, when they cut out Bologna Creek, that those vans, the trucks came here? Do we have proof from our Interfaith advisor that any RVs or vans came from Bologna Creek?
No proof. I think we can only just say anecdotally that obviously that homeless population dispersed where they went. We can't say for sure that it's here in Manhattan Beach. I don't have any proof.
They went somewhere.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Roll call vote, Lisa.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yep.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great. Thank you all. You want to take a break, or do you push on through the last one?
I mean.
You got 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I would just go.
We'll do 5 minutes. 5 minutes of your speech or 5 minutes of break?
No, let's
No,
just keep,
All right.
Let's
We're
just
going to
keep
get
going.
Steve, continue on. We're going to power through here, Steve.
Steve, how about you?
I bet on
Great.
All right, it's item number 14, consideration of introducing a ordinance and adopting a resolution of intention to amend the contract between the Board of Administration, I'll just stop there. HR, Director Jenkins, take over.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Lisa Jenkins, your HR Director. This item fulfills CalPERS requirements for our cost sharing for our unrepresented sworn employees. That includes our police and fire chief and division chiefs. The City Council already approved this cost sharing in 2022 with approval of an unrepresented compensation plan. You also approved a resolution to initiate this action in September of this year to formally amend our contract with CalPERS. CalPERS has a number of other requirements, including the resolution of intention and the ordinance, which are before you tonight. There will then be a secret ballot election and 20 days that need to pass between now and then second reading and adoption of this ordinance. And then we will be able to formally amend our contract with CalPERS. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Joe?
Questions?
Anyone else? Great. Let's see. Public comment for a second here. Anyone want to talk about this item? Seeing none in chambers. How about by Zoom, Martha?
There are no requests via Zoom.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Council, I need a motion to approve this item, ordinance number 23-0012.
I can't press my thing. It's been done for a while.
Councilmember Howorth moves to accept with a second by Mayor Pro Tem Franklin. For a discussion, roll call vote, Lisa.
Mayor, so before you have the vote.
Yes.
This is to adopt both the resolution and introduce the ordinance. I'll read the title.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 23-0012, an ordinance of the Manhattan Beach City Council authorizing an amendment to the contract between the City Council of the City of Manhattan Beach and the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System.
Well said. Roll call, Lisa.
Mayor Pro Tem Franklin?
Yes.
Mayor Montgomery?
Yes.
Councilmember Howorth?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Napolitano?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, congrats, everybody. We're on to item L, City Council requests and reports, the AB 1234 reports. I guess I will go first. I just came back from the National League of Cities conference in Atlanta, and one of our own is now president of the National League of Cities a year. His name is Mayor David Sander, a real-life PhD, in Rancho Cordova, California.
Oh.
If you know where that is, it's north of Sacramento, and it's a booming city, and good guy. It's good to represent California for a year. It's nice to have someone there. They had breakout sessions of 10 to 12 every day. When you get 3,000 people from all over the country show up, you can't have one session. They break us up in different things: homelessness, crime, ballot measures, library funding. Pete Buttigieg shows up to talk about infrastructure funds for cities. Definitely important. And Bruce, we've been members of NLC since 1975. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
Well, just make sure you knew that now. And I'm going to read something because I also had something happen where I get to read something a little longer, but not too long for you guys. Let me read this because I wrote it down and kind of spent along. So recently I had the privilege of representing Manhattan Beach as part of a California delegation comprised of elected officials from the state, supervisor's office, and also 7 mayors on an 11-day trip to China at the expense, no expense of the taxpayer, sponsored by the U.S. Overseas China Friendship Association. They're trying to, basically people in China do work in California, want to do work in California. Now, Skechers excluded from part of that already, although Skechers has 100,000 employees in China. I bet no one knew that. 400 plants in China, Skechers has. So we're definitely tied with them back to back. Did you know that Duke University has a campus there?
What does?
In Kushan, Duke
Oh, Duke.
has a new campus there, and we got to tour that one. But the exciting part of the day, or the trip, the best part was history. We got to meet 103-year-old pilot and 98-year-old tail gunner from the Flying Tigers. Most of you were too young to know who the Flying Tigers are.
Wow.
But those who do know who they are, the Americans before the end of the war were sending pilots over to help the Chinese fight the Japanese. It was all voluntary until we entered the war in 41. But we got to meet them. It was the 80th anniversary of the Flying Tigers in China. So they were fighting as Americans with the Chinese against the Japanese. We got to meet 2. I was surprised they're still alive too, Bruce. We got to meet them. They guys are in great shape. It was amazing to meet them. It was an honor to meet them while we were there. But we saw so much of the connections. Those who've been to China probably gone to the Great Wall, and we go have a lunch there after climbing that thing, and I was worn out. It says the restaurant, you go up to this hill, and it says home of the Great Wall. And the owner's coming to us, and he says, "Hey, I want you guys to know, my daughter went to school at Berkeley, Cal Berkeley.
Oh, go Bears.
And she has a job in Sacramento." It just shows you we are connected. But not just Skechers. We are tied to China like 2 brothers. Competitive, you're competitive, but it's not going to go past that point. But it was an honor to represent the city and be there, and I'm glad to be back and get my voice and my rest after 14.5-hour flight. With that, that's my report there. Let's go to item number 1.6. Consideration request by Councilmember Howorth and Council Napolitano to discuss the LA versus Hate Community Mural Art Project Program. City Manager Mo?
Yes, items 16 and 17 are both looking for a third vote for it to come back to council.
I'm happy to be this third vote for both of these items.
Okay, takes care of that.
17 and 18.
16 and
16 and 17.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a second. 16 and 17, excuse me.
Okay.
All right, so you have your third.
And do we need to discuss what 17
Nope,
is?
can't talk about it.
No, just by title.
Number 17, consideration by request by Councilmember Howorth and Napolitano to discuss objective development standards for housing.
And I'm happy to be the third vote there. Thank you.
So Councilor Lester is a second for both.
Or the
Or
third.
third. Item M, future agenda items. Anyone's got something exciting? Future agenda items?
I think staff has their hands full.
No, good. City manager report.
Yes, very briefly, at this time of year, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and express my own gratitude and gratefulness for working for the city of Manhattan Beach and this fine community, and appreciate the opportunity. So happy Thanksgiving.
And vice versa to you as well.
Too.
City attorney report.
Yeah, a ditto.
No informational items, no agenda forecast, no closed session. Let me read this, that city clerk prepared for me to read this part.
8:59, Your Honor.
No, we're not adjourned yet. We're not adjourned yet. You haven't, I said 9.
I haven't adjourned yet.
Wait,
He's dragging it out.
wait a minute.
I said 8:30.
You're wrong. Wait, 8:59, right?
So take your,
Wait a minute.
take your time, Mr.
Wait,
Mayor.
what time? I said 9. Don't adjourn yet. Wait. He's not here. You have to, look, okay.
This is not fair.
It's not, you know what, Steve? Fair's in October. Okay.
Oh.
The thumb is
Okay,
on
you
the
can
scale.
start talking.
The
Talk
thumb is on
slowly.
the scale, Steve.
All right. With all here paying attention and also those
You
here on
win.
Zoom, the meeting is adjourned to a closed session on Tuesday, December 5th, 2023 at 5:30 PM in City Council chambers. With that, we are adjourned.
At 8:59, I give it to you, Steve.
Thank you.